Hello. Welcome. Give me 2 more seconds, y'all. Getting that all nice and clean. Welcome to the AstroPub. Welcome to the office hours. Getting that monkey suit on. Give a little bit. All right. Welcome, everybody. My name is Paul, Berserker01, Batman Shelley, your humble host. And, got a little thing on my forehead.
My spaceship.
Space bartender here
My
at
space
the AstroPub, your space bar at the end of the universe.
You
Oh,
can even take away my
got a
space lasers.
description.
But you can never
Sorry, I have my
Ever.
ears on.
take away my space game.
RD Madeira just resubscribed for 46 months.
Thank you so much, RD Madeira, for that 46 months of support. You're very important, probably very impressive of any pedestrian. This is your fault. You're trying to good night. Shots and cheers and chat, y'all. Shots and cheers. I have a new helmet. Ugh. Paul sailing in to save my Friday. Hope to help you out, yeah. So this is going to be a little bit more of a chill stream, mostly because there really isn't a lot to talk about, more than just kind of the typical yak. We're going to look at the patch notes for 4.2. Boop, boop, boop. All right, let's take a look at this. Thank you, night. So, Wave 2, audience, Wave 2, PTU channel. Note this patch does not contain all intended features. All right, Wicklow custom components going into 4.2 live. The issue with missing upgraded components of Wicklow ships has been resolved with the 4.2 update. Executive hangars ships were being worked on, but also be fixed, but not in the build just yet. Starting with this update, all newly purchased ships from Wicklow will automatically include upgraded components. For players who bought Wicklow ships before 4.2 and still have the base components, there are 2 ways to receive upgrades. Store the ship before 4.2 goes live, or file an insurance claim of the ship after the live release. In either case, the ship will return with upgraded components instead of the base. Not ready for feedback. Improve kiosk interactions. Issues. We can skip over that for now. Fusion gameplay, scanning mode UI and feature update. The scanning mode UI has been updated to further visual improvements, lowering the required base emission to scan for the driver's name in a ship from 80 to 10, allowing you to scan a player name more quickly than further away. Characters, further hair inclusions and new hair inclusions, new hair polish into the character creator. Locations, ASD facilities, lightning, music, and optimization polish. Add exclusion area to prevent AI from entering ASD facility clinics. Ships and vehicles. ATLS variants can now be called using the freight elevator and the hangar after delivering it to the location, and the ASOP. So, once you have it delivered in your ASOP, you can then pull it up on your on the freight elevator. So the ATLSs, all of the ATLSs are now items. So they're still working on making the rest of them items, but that's a good one. It's a big step forward, yeah. Swapped regen and slap down balance for shield generators. Updated all engineering components health scaling with increases and decreases across the components. Added gimbals to ground vehicle remote turrets. There's a shotgun balance. They updated rain effects, polish, including better balancing with stronger wind, more visible, and added screen space collision impacts. Made default camera raindrops and slush effects more subtle. Tech update added to the ability for locked doors to require multiple forms of authentication to open, i.e. requiring armor plus helmet instead of just one or the other. Potential fix. Okay, Stormbreaker Lazarus designs. Multiple exterior buildings are missing interior atmospheres at Lazarus facilities. Stormageddon locations. So, someone is asking, what's the, I haven't played with the ICT, no. I'm sure that, y'all, I'm gonna be real right now. I am not a news channel. I know none of you run to me to get the latest and greatest news on everything because I don't have the time to compete with people who literally are covering this game on a daily basis. I do lore, I do this stuff because I think it's interesting and it's fun, but it's mostly just to sort of look at the game in a way that I am right now, rather than trying to like sweaty break down everything in the game. That's just not who I am. But you all learn lore, Daddy. Yeah, I know lore, but the lore isn't the same as like trying to get the breaking news on absolutely everything. How hot is it in my room? Pretty cool, actually. I've got pretty decent circulation, and it's not that warm here. I think it was in the high 80s. I look a bit sweaty. It's not sweat. That is wet. I just got out of the shower. So I'm glistening. What were your last A1C readings? A1C. Air conditioning? Oh, gotta turn that giveaway off because that giveaway is done. Turn it off. I was so tired. Giveaway off. Giveaway off. Giveaway off. Glistening lower, yeah. We're fine. No major storm damage here. I'm studying all things Star Citizen for the Quantum Vega ship giveaway trivia. That's awesome. We just respect your opinion as someone who isn't a hardcore sweat player. Thank you. No, I just wanted to like be clear. Like, don't come to me expecting state-of-the-art latest updates. So like, I know if someone's like, oh, there's videos out already. It's like, I'm not gonna rush out and do a video on it. If I'm gonna do a video on it, it'll be like a breakdown of it. I'm finished with teaching. So the last day with kids was today. And then tomorrow is the last work day of school. where we go in and we, get the like last day speeches from the admin, and we go get checklists and get everything signed off, and then, clean up our rooms. Our room has been prepared for the last week, so I'm good to go. I just need to basically take my checklist down, get everything stamped and signed off, and then head out. Yeah, I turned off the giveaway. Nope, no summer school for me. Any lore of ghost stories in Star Citizen? Yeah, there's a lot, actually. There's an entire series called Untold Tales. And the Untold Tales series of lore is like a combination of unsolved mysteries and like it's supposed to be unsolved mysteries, like the TV series Unsolved Mysteries, but it's not really like, it's all paranormal weird shit. Hey, Velocity, you're in Ireland now. Yeah, there's the Blue Man. There's the Ghost Signal. There's a I can't remember where. I think it's in Farron, where you can go out into Farron and you receive an SOS signal from a ship that disappeared hundreds of years ago, and it'll show up and then disappear. There's the Vara, which is famously a ghost ship, which will show up and attack the crew. It's very much Event Horizon sort of thing. There's the Blue Man, the cryptid, the Hades cryptid, which is just this blue bipedal creature with glowing veins, sort of like standing glowing veins thing. On the Astro Historian. Just look up Astro Historian Untold Tales, and I've got a bunch of them on there. There's the missing Zeus, which was discovered well after it disappeared, like hundreds and hundreds of years after it disappeared, and like the story of like how did it get there. There's the Marine that showed up several hundred years too late. There's a couple of them on there. No, Wave 1 was yesterday. Not even 2 days. This is not a Content Cave one. That's actually, Vastin, what you're talking about is the Hades itself, where an explorer went into the ruins of the Hadesian civilization into like an old tunnel and heard a voice. Yeah. So it's even spookier. It's not even a cave. It was a collapsed tunnel. Hey, Ucha. Thank you for watching. I do plan on, there'll be more videos coming out this next month. I've just got to like narrow down what I want to do. I'm definitely going to do the miscellaneous ships of the UAE Navy to get that done. And I have a Hurston video that I want to make it's going to take me a little bit longer. I want to get that out. But that'll be out next week. It'll be out next weekend. I doing Lore Citizen with Jail and Al anytime soon? No, probably not. That's mostly because I have to get I'd have to talk with Jail to make sure they're available and Al to make sure they're available. The plan is likely to do a bunch of different ones, but that one I need to get a good schedule for it and edit it together and that kind of stuff. What's your plan to do review today? Well, we just went through the Wave 2 PTU stuff. Someone asked earlier about what the Stormbreaker the stuff is. What's the value of it? I believe there's some rare materials you can get, like irradiated animal parts. And when you get those irradiated animal parts, you can trade those in for special weapons and upgrades in Wicklow. But that stuff isn't like a story-based thing. It's not like one of those things where it's going to be FOMO story-based. It's that is strictly and purely a sandbox event. So it's going to be like Hathor. Well, it'll be available forever for ASD stuff. I haven't tried the new guns, but I do love the new mech suit. I don't know why people are upset about it. The best way to describe the new mech suit, the weapon, the Banu weapon, is that it's kind of like Raider power armor in Fallout. It's sort of a hit bash of an original existing frame rather than a dedicated combat mech. I think a lot of people think that's oh, this is what you're gonna do. This is awful. This is garbage. It's there's an entire version which is built for combat that's in Squadron 42 that they're not going to release yet. Wait until later. That'll come out. I think they want a jetpack. There is a jetpack version. It just requires 50 Wicklow favors. It requires you to get an ICT, which is just an NN13 plus a ATLS, and then it also requires a Geo. So you get the ICT, then you have to get the Geo, and then you have to you have to get an NN13 on top of that again, and then I think you need a 50 Wicklow favors, which is for one Wicklow favor, it's 50 scrip. So yeah, it's a lot of scrip, a lot of scrip farming. The neutron repeater. It's a gun. Do you recall what's size to damage? It was size 5, not size 4. Size 5 and upper, anti-larger ships. Evening, Paul. I miss anything big this week? Yeah, I mean, mostly just the May funding goals, but also 4.2 is in PTU now. 4.2 is in Wave 2 PTU now. Scripts aren't too bad after you get to the higher levels. Yeah, I'm still on like the early levels. But I'm definitely gonna get one. I'm gonna be grinding the crap out of it to get them. I finally have a reason to grind for it, so. I'm not gonna lie. I miss when this was more of a light sim and less D&D in space. What do you mean D&D in space? Because I would, if you're calling Star Citizen an RPG, it's not an RPG. The only place you can find the canon is in the contested zones. I think it's on Orbit. Contested zone in Orbit. It's the one that has the hangar. Unfortunately, it's the one that breaks all the time. So you can find them. You can put them in a elevator, in the cargo elevator, and leave. But so many things you should be able to buy in stores are now loot only. For example, you can't even buy a normal S71. That's normal for a video game, though. The problem is that you got used to the idea that everything in the game is accessible through the in-game stores. And there's going to be more stuff that's going to be restricted. I don't know how that's different from a light sim. Yeah, that's the only issue, is that there's only one entrance to the ASD facilities. Yeah, some ships are going to be restricted to earnable only through like reputation stuff or build yourself. You can think of it as like the UEE is going to be much more regulated than non-UEE space. And non-UE space is probably going to be more reliant on like jerry-rigged and their kind of homemade weapons, like the pyro weapons we've seen. Those will probably be more common than a lot of the weapons. You'll still be able to get the weapons from dead drops, from like dead individuals and stuff like that. But, and you'll probably be able to earn them through reputation-gated activities or find them in locations and get them insured. But yeah, it doesn't make sense in a universe. In universe is my point. Why can't I buy anti-capital ship torpedo but not a rifle? Right now you can. In the future you may not. You got to remember that it's alpha. There's a lot of stuff that's just not done yet. if 1.0 comes around and you can still buy size 12 anti-capital shit torpedoes without a license or any reputation or anything like that, but you can't buy like a handgun, then yeah, I will agree. Yes, CIG needs to fix that problem, make it like work for their own universe. But I doubt that's going to happen because CIG's already tried to restrict those things and people lost their fucking mind because of bugs. Later, European. It's more than likely that you're going to have to, with torpedoes, you may not be able to purchase them at all. You may have to craft them. So you may have to find the materials and find the blueprints to craft them, and then craft them yourself. I wonder when they'll put the final touches on Squadron 42 and finally release it next year. It feels like everything is starting to be locked behind PvP zones. Well, yeah, the higher level stuff is always going to be locked behind PvP zones. Allegedly? What's allegedly? Which screws over PvE players? Well, they're going to add more PvE stuff in the long run, but you're not saying PvE in terms of combat, Toa. You're talking about PvE in terms of non-combat. Because there are PvE zones in like Hathor. The last couple times I've been to Hathor, there has been nobody there other than us and, you know, myself personally, or like my group, and no PvP was happened because Hathor is no longer the new hotness. NJ, when's the last time you played? And I believe ASD is a PvE sort of situation. It's a PVA or PVX. Yesterday? Okay. I've had a very different experience than you did, than NJ, if your issue is AI is awful. Because, like, I've had AI absolutely dome me from far away, FPS style. And with in terms of space combat, they're not awful. They're getting better, but they're definitely still a threat. PvE always evolved in the PvP only if there's other players in there who are shooting at you. Any good mech novels you could recommend? Mine, but it's not finished yet. But no, there is a series that I would recommend, but I'm not going to recommend because it is definitely it's one of those series that was recommended to me because of its themes, but it's also very much not a user-friendly series. It is very much a acquired taste in the sense that it is very adult. And I was warned beforehand going in there. I was like, oh, this is very adult oriented. I was like, okay, I'll read it anyways because I like a good mech novel. And I read it. I'm like, oh, this is just porn. But I get what they're doing. It's a porn with a plot. I get the plot. I just kind of skipped over some of the porn stuff, but. Space combat is a joke? Explain, NJ. Because I haven't had that experience. I found space combat is a lot easier than ground combat now, but I still find it difficult. Lore-wise, is there anything new? Yeah, or like new in terms of like the new lore that's been coming out. Yeah, these facilities seem to be new. The ASD facilities in Pyro. Associated Science and Development, I think is what it's called. They make a lot of weapons, like energy-based weapons, neutron and disruptor weapons, or what are they called? I forgot the name of them. The weapons that are designed to knock out rather than destroy. They're kind of a shitty company. The last time they unveiled a new cannon, neutron cannon that they built, and they test fired it to the crowd, and it exploded and killed a bunch of people in the exposition. So like ASD has built a bunch of facilities in Pyro to get around regulations because they're doing unethical and illegal experiments, but there's no laws in Pyro, so they can get away with it. Distortion. Thank you, Squirrel. The AI in packs of 3 is just mostly sit there and slowly circle at best. I haven't had that experience at all, actually, NJ. Not at all. We were doing a mission with attack. And we did a patrol mission with attack where there was a bunch of us, and we were kind of getting our shit pushed in. We took a lot of damage. And the ships were definitely targeting us and like maneuvering around us and stuff like that. Able-Bodied Soldier is a good mech series. In terms of like actual mech novels, there's new Mech Warrior series and BattleTech books. Fox Company, I think is what they're called. Is a good one. I haven't read Able-Bodied Soldier. I'll should have looked it up. Taurus versus AI, M2, Gemini, 600 solo without even thinking about it. Can't even imagine hit scan mode and Idris. Okay, so you're good at the game. Or you just had an unlucky server where they're kind of derpy. Yeah, I saw that one. The one that was on Armored Core, the one with Keanu Reeves in it. No, I'm okay at best. Sounds like you're pretty good if you're soloing an M2 Gemini and 600i and a Taurus. Any thoughts on Yogi's recent FM comments? I have no idea what Yogi said. I'll have to look it up. Again, you're asking the wrong person about these sorts of things. Let's go Star Citizen News. Okay. All right, let's read what Yogi said. The floaty big ships won't get resolved until we roll out the updates to the flight model, which will include the control surface tech for atmospheric flight. The general ability of ships to float is simply driven from the ability to counter gravity. It's a bit of an in-between a rock and a hard place situation. We don't want to hamstring the ship so they can't take off, but at the same time, we also would dislike ships hovering with their nose down indefinitely.
You can even take away my space lasers.
No PTUs.
But you can never, ever take away my space game.
No, they haven't added more Untold Tales stuff.
Farasol just resubscribed for 51 months. Thanks to a Trouble Magnet for my sub gift.
Thank you so much for that subscription for 5 months. There, Farasol, you're very important, but very impressed, Mr. Vanny Pedestrian. This is your fault. You're drinking that. Trust and cheers. You're all trust and cheers. Get in a Hornet and go up against a Hurricane. You will change your mind. Biggest issue with this post is the floaty big ships. No ship should be able to nose down on the surface unless it has dedicated sufficient thrusters, and without it should be a challenge. That's what he's saying, Yogi. Or he'd say that's what he's saying, Blue. That's what Yogi's saying. Bring back hover mode. Well, hover mode was just ineloquent. There's two ways to handle that. Balance thruster efficiencies in a way so that the standard Earth Atmo, the ships only provide enough thrust to add their VTOLs when their VTOLs are deployed. Add some fakery FM stuff that auto-corrects the ship altitude or even limits it. At the moment, we're naturally working towards approach 1, but it gets some difficulties we need to deal with properly. Thrust in general would be very limited in default 1G environments, only vertically, VTOL aided, or forward thrust should provide enough Gs to stay afloat. However, that also means that our retro or lateral thrusts would need to be so weak that at the same time, it could be very easy to crash land your ship, which naturally conflicts with the idea of an approachable game, as you can imagine. So if we go for that first approach, we need to add a few more things. Automated controls that kind of keep your ship from dipping over, maybe an attitude hold autopilot mode, specifically during landing. A reliable indicator of your thrust to weight ratio against gravity that takes cargo weight into account so that you don't take off or land overloaded. Some help during landing so that players can land easily without going nose down. A downwards angled landing cam or a general landing UI. Wow. Wow. As usual, Spectrum goes on. I want this game to punch me in the dick as hard as it can. I don't want players to play the game. I want this to be Space Beast DCS. It's like, oh. No, I mean, he addresses big floaty ships from his post, should be regarding all ships, from Gladius to Idris and Atmosphere nose forward. That's the point, Blue. That's what he's saying. He's saying, because the post itself is about big ships. And he used these examples, right? But that's going to be the case with all of them. I assume the 70-ton Nova tank still feels like a cardboard box when it hits the pebble on 1G environment. Oh yeah, of course. They haven't done anything with the ground-based vehicles and stuff like that. At the end of the day, he says space combat is done while other parts of which aren't getting concerned. What are you talking about? I don't see him saying space combat is done. Where does it say space combat is done? The spaceflight part of the new flight model. He doesn't mean balancing. What are you talking about? Over, under? It's going to come this year. Ironclad's coming this year, y'all. I don't know why everyone's panicking. Like, last we heard it was in gray box. And it's been in development for quite a while. Unless there's something very seriously wrong with it, then it'll come out this year. We'll know more at the end of the month. I'm looking through this, through the posts. Those are the two ones he did. Oh, he's got a couple more of them. Let's see if he gets through all of them.
I'm just an old-fashioned cowboy.
Aim assist values of the Idris weaponry has already been brought up internally. I'm pretty sure I saw ship content changing it. It might already be submitted through a future patch. I'll take a quick look at 4.2 values on Friday. In general, we don't want aim assist on those large weapons. I'm just seeing a lot of weird posts. Ooh. This one already saw. So that one. I'm not asking you to have faith, but I'm really stating where our development reality is. Yes, we showed quantum boosting during CC 2023, but since then the requirements in other parts of the gameplay have changed significantly, requiring changes in the general design and implementation. Frankly said, it's not ready for delivery, and that's nothing unusual. Iteration happens in game development all the time. It's just part of the process, okay? Without the core gravity compensation is gone. Whether or not core gravity compensation is gone, so it's IFCS ability to command the goal velocity be for linear movement or rotation, meaning you have to brake yourself if you want to come to a stop. For hovering, you need to constantly apply as much acceleration as needed to stay in hover, and control your rotation manually so you don't slide. If you're just a little offset on a roll, accelerating upwards will cause a drift. So that's really only for very advanced users. I mean pilots. Trying to see all the stuff he said. He's posted a lot. However mode never really had the time to cook. It could have been a better system after all these years. We need Atmo mode and space mode other than fast and slow mode. We updated the flight mode so you can turn off what's called IFCS core. It cuts away all assists, including irrational rotational stabilization and gravity environments. That pretty much gets you what your hover mode was, just a bit harder. Okay? Yeah, they've been talking about that one. With the new iteration of the UFM, you should be able to leave a seat while the ship keeps accelerating like it used to be, like walking around the ship. It doesn't do this yet, but it'll be to just look into. Looking through some of this. Oh, there's velocity. I'm not seeing much anything. I don't see where he says that the flight model or like the combat is done. Last time we got a Joker card was for jump points, but we're not in time pressure for the flight mode updates. First of all, we don't have a good goal date yet. I mean, I have one in my head, which I'm sure will not work out. And secondly, we won't get time. We won't get time pressure. For the MM Master Modes release, we had to convert all ships within a very short time period, which was the reason why it ended up being fairly similar to each other. The data had to change for all the ships at once. Once committed, we had to go. That was different from the updated flight model because the data sits neatly in parallel, so we can update and tune all the ships without polluting the old flight model data. That means the biggest risk in terms of time commitment is gone, and so I hope we don't need a Joker card. Okay. Yeah, I've looked through all of the stuff he's posted, and I haven't seen once where he mentions that the combat mode is completely like stable and not stable. I don't remember him saying this space part is done. He's saying that it's not ready for release. You're doing the community a big service by treading through the intellectual abyss of Spectrum. Thank you for your service. Well, there's lots of, it's always important, and this is going to be the teacher in me saying, if you hear something that makes you upset, do research. Do not rely on myself or any other content creator or YouTuber, even if you like them, to do all the research for you. Because what you're doing is letting us control what information you get. And the one advantage of this project is that most of the information is quite public. They post on Spectrum, on Reddit, on Twitter, and other locations all the time. So you can get access, and their own website. You can get access to the information if you want to. So especially if something makes you mad, don't just take it as verbatim, like verboten. Don't don't take the word on whoever says it, even if you agree with them. Go look it up. Read through it yourself. That's one of the reasons why I do I read through the monthly reports and the roadmap updates, and I read them and record them because that's the straight data. It's the most explicit data you can get. And I know not everyone has a chance to like read them themselves, so they listen to me reading them because it's me just rereading it. Verbatim. Verboten means forbidden. Yeah, I know what I mean. I know. I know I said it wrong. But I didn't mean verboten. I meant trusted on trust alone. That should really apply to everything. It should. That's the teacher in me going, you should, that should. It's in, okay. It's in Yogi's post where he says 3/4 of the way through. All right. At the moment, we're naturally working towards more of a one approach. But we have some difficulties you need to deal with properly. Thrust in general would be very limited in default in 1G environments, only vertically, VTOL aided, or thrust forward would provide enough Gs to stay afloat. However, that means that retro or lateral thrusts would need to be so weak at the same time that it would be very easy to crash land your ship, which naturally conflicts with the idea of an approachable game you can imagine. I guess then he just kind of goes over the approach of what they need to do. I'm not seeing anything where it says that spaceflight is done. Now that's just me saying that what's on your mind at the moment. We're currently busy with flight mode updates. Space flight mode is done. Control surface tech and news quantum is not yet. It's not yet. Okay. So that's where he says flight mode is done. So what's the issue with people saying flight mode is done? Why do people having that issue? I didn't know about verboten. Verboten, yeah. Verboten means forbidden. I was trying to think of the word and that came out. That happens to me a lot. We're all like, there's a word that I'm thinking about and I'm like, it's this. Then I'm like, wait, no, that's not the word. Basically, don't trust it on faith. Don't trust everything they say. Anything anyone says, myself included. Especially if it's important to you, research it yourself. Probably gospel. And so there's a word that I'm remembering, a fancy word that I'm remembering. That's with a V. I'd been verbatim. Anyone else think it's ironic that we're getting Valakar and Dune Awakening coming out next week? If you meant truthful rather than exact, you should be veritable. That's probably what I meant. Spent so long looking for it, we lost the point. Yeah, well, you know, that's what happens when someone gets mad about something and you go looking in to find out like what they were mad about. I don't know what someone was mad about. Someone said they were worried that they said space combat is done, but then something else. And I was like, what? Where did he say space combat is done? And that turned into, oh no, he said space flight is done. It's like, okay. Yeah. I don't even know if space flight is in Star Citizen properly yet. Like, the problem with development right now is that a lot of stuff that's internally finished at CIG isn't necessarily pushed out to the public yet because they're doing a lot of stuff internally, which they can't push out because it's too dangerous for it to come out. They also said everything is still shit. Yes. No, nothing in this game is finished. This is one of the reasons why I was hesitant about CIG doing a year of stability. Now, of course, it's worked out for them tremendously. The game is much more playable than it has ever been. People are more engaged in the game than they've ever been. They're making insane amounts of money because of all the releases they're doing. But yeah, no, this is going to sound insanity, y'all. Okay. But in my own personal research, because I'm fascinated by stuff like game development, generally speaking, most of the work to complete a video game is done in like the last year of its development. Typically before that is a lot of pre-planning, prototyping, pre-alpha, working through systems. And once they have all those systems done and set up, usually it's about a year for larger teams to go from that stage where they have all of the stuff like kind of lined up to it being done. Storefront is very complete. Name checks out. I bet you the store isn't even finished yet either. This is the reason why. This is the reason why I'm fairly certain we're not going to get a 1.0 release without like 6 to 9 months of beta. And I'm going to let you in on a secret here, y'all. Come here. The game is going to continue to be developed even after 1.0. The game will change, possibly dramatically, between 1.0 and 2.0. probably within a year to year and a half of 1.0 being released, it'll have a significant overhaul, which will change how you play Star Citizen. Ask how I know. It's come and save it. It's fine. CIG is going for the MMO model of development, and they want to turn Star Citizen to much more of an MMO. And I can tell you right now that every MMO I have ever seen or played has changed significantly in its first year of release. And in some cases, entirely over the course of several years. Final Fantasy 14, or is it 16? I remember which one. I think it's 16, right? The 16 is the online one. The one that basically died and had to be resurrected. It is like an extreme example of that. WoW is definitely very different. Vanilla WoW is very different from modern WoW. 14, okay. But like Eve is the same. Eve 1.0 is very different from what Eve is today. They've been changed things here and there. The reality is that MMOs in general will always change. And I guarantee CIG will make the meta, shake up the meta quite frequently when they have a chance to. No Man's Sky, even though that's not an MMO, it's very different from what it was before. So the reality is that Star Citizen will always be in development. Even when Star Citizen hits a 1.0 development level where we see how the ships fly and all that kind of stuff, that's going to change. Because those developers, when they hit 1.0, aren't just going to go, we're done. Continue to pay us. CIG is going to continue to have them work and iterate and build new systems and fix old systems and that sort of thing as they continue through. I'm also looking forward to Light No Fire. I haven't tried the new launcher yet, Ronnie. I was ready for perpetual development, but I wasn't ready for the scope creep. There's only really two major scope creep changes that have happened. As I like to say, Star Citizen doesn't suffer from scope creep. It suffers from scope bloat. Most of the features that people think is scope creep for Star Citizen was already planned at the beginning of its development, usually around as part of its like expanded goals for funding goals for Kickstarter, the Kickstarter expansions. But it was beyond Kickstarter too. They did them on their website as well when they started ordering more stuff. The only thing that is really new is crafting and base building. Neither of those were in that original scope. Even procedural landing was part of the original scope, but it was supposed to be a post-release feature, kind of like how Elite Dangerous did it. But instead, they got that technology working earlier, and that's what delayed the game significantly from where we are now. We're not going to see a subscription model. If we see a subscription model, CIG will likely burn all of the bridges they have currently. The entire single player game was from the beginning part of the plan. Squadron 42 was part of the plan at the very beginning of Star Citizen. It wasn't something that they just came up on the fly with. In fact, the introduction to Star Citizen was Squadron 42. That video, the first video they did was a Squadron 42 video. It's just Squadron 42 was supposed to be the single player version, a single player part of Star Citizen itself until they split them apart. But it was always going to be a single player game. If you spend over $1,000, your sub is paid for 5 years. Then they won't get any sub money. That's not how you get. If you're gonna do subscriptions, you have to make people pay in order to get that money. And if you're going to grandfather in everyone who's already paid a bunch of money, then you won't get any money. So that won't work. Isn't that's kind of what happened with what was that other space game where they tried to do dynamic meshing, but it was kind of like Space Engineers in terms of its build. I can't remember the name of it. I always forget that one. Not Starbase. Dual Universe. Yeah. Dual Universe did something similar where they had like they had a tier or a pledge tier where you would get lifetime subscription if you paid it. And then so a bunch of people paid for it, and then they were like, well, we're gonna have to like deal with that fact. And so they just weren't getting subscription money. Player built space stations was a stretch goal as well. No, player built space stations was not a stretch goal. It was player controlled space stations. There were going to be some abandoned stations that players could take over and then claim for themselves. Yeah, we already have an optional in the sources community. We already have an optional subscription service with 2 tiers. It's just ass. They need to make it a little bit better. The actual like future of Star Citizen's funding model is what everyone hates me when I say it, but I'll keep saying it. It's microtransactions. It's microtransaction cosmetics. It's selling game packages instead of ships. So you're still going to be being able to buy like $1,000 package, which has a $1,000 ship, but it's like a base level, probably not $1,000. They might, but probably more like several $100 package, where you can still get like a hammerhead with a game package, and they'll get away with it by saying it's a game package, but the value is going to be ass because it's also not going to be anything but the lowest tier available. And that will be, so you'll basically get shit. You get a little bit of a head start in terms of having that base ship ready to go, but you still need to get it, grind the reputation, get it updated, all that kind of stuff. Round-the-clock servers that service tens of thousands of people aren't cheap. Name an MMO that size the player base that isn't a submodel. WoW. WoW is free to play for up to level 20. Eve is free to play. Let's see what else is there. Final Fantasy 14, is that subscription model still? War Thunder, it's not an MMO, but yeah, it's an online multiplayer. It's actually free. The vast majority of MMOs are free. And the vast majority of online games are free. Even WoW are limited, but they still are free. Lost Ark, Throne of Liberty. Isn't there a new one that just recently came out that was pretty big, like 2 human or once human? What's not free, Defonis? Star Citizen won't be free to play. It'll still be pay to play. Final Fantasy XIV is not free to play for the full game. It's rather heavily limited aside from MSQ, which is still limited. So yeah, so Final Fantasy XIV, WoW, and EVE all have the same partially free, partially pay. Yes, free, but most pay otherwise wouldn't exist. There are monetization schemes for all of those games, which do help pay for it, because people will pay for them if they like a good game. You're not going to see Star Citizen have a mandatory subscription system. It's not going to happen. Like, straight up, stop asking for it, y'all. Because, again, if you have somebody who is paid $1,000 into Star Citizen, and you say, give me money for sub now, they will tell CIG to fuck off or actively try to destroy Star Citizen. That ship sailed when they started selling ships. They're not doing a mandatory FUD model. Oh, but Paul, I would gladly, good, you're not this person I'm talking about, because you actually like pay attention to it. The vast majority of people who are going to play Star Citizen, even if they get like $1,000, not even $1,000, probably more like $100 to $200 in the game, I think is the average. Then they don't follow content creators, and they're not like, oh, I'm in this for the love of the game. Most of them are here because they want to have a fun time. And the second you start putting fucking monetization blocks on them for their having the fun time, they'll at best piss off, if not at worst sue you. Yeah, the court fees alone would bankrupt them. The thing that's going to pay for Star Citizen, and this is going to sound insane, is Squadron. Now, does that mean Squadron has to be this fantastic, amazing breakthrough? No, it just has to be moderately successful. A great example of a game that recently was fairly moderately successful, which is much smaller in scope than Star Citizen, but I would say is probably on par in terms of its reach possibility, if not like a little bit below its reach, is Expedition 33. The Expedition 33 devs have gone on to say that on the 33rd day after the game has been released, they made 3.3 million copies. They sold 3.3 million copies. Do I think Squadron 42 is going to sell 3.3 million copies in 30 days? I don't know, maybe. But if they sold 1 million copies in a year, that would probably be pretty good. Doesn't sound the same to me, Paul. I've been saying it for years. Basically, Star Citizen shouldn't be paying for Squadron 42 development. To the people, Star Citizen shouldn't be paying for Squadron 42 development. It's also important that Squadron 42 doesn't need continual support. I mean, it'll have some support where they'll go back in and patch some of the problems, stuff like that after it's released. But I don't expect Squadron 42 to have like a massive overhead in terms of keeping it up, especially if they're releasing it on every PC platform that can sell something. Steam, Epic Games, all those kind of places. And if it's good and has legs, which it could do, I think it will, CIG is in a very different position than most other games, which have to make up the entire cost of their game within like the first month of sales, because they have a publisher who demands the money back right away. CIG is in a unique position where they can release the game if it does well, 7, 8 out of 10 game, and gets good word of mouth and builds up reputation and has a good rolling start to begin with, going into like, I think it's going to releasing in December of next year, so then it'll like roll into the new year and do pretty well. I think it'll do fine for CIG. I think the funny part is that they're likely to make as much money off of Squadron 42 after its initial release than CIG usually makes an entire year with Star Citizen's development. Now, I don't think that's a infinite money glitch. I think it'll eventually peter down, but because CIG isn't under the pressure of having Squadron 42 be this massive success to save the company, as long as it's good and has legs, it will continue to help fund the development. And then the advantage of this is that CIG can then turn around, take what they have with Squadron, and make Part 2. Part 2 doesn't require the entire gameplay team to create a brand new HUD or brand new whatever, which is what a lot of those developers were doing in Squadron before they moved over to Star Citizen. They had developed the FPS system, the flight systems, all of these different systems to make them function for Squadron, and now they're porting them over to Star Citizen. Ironically, once Squadron 42 is released, those devs will have been working in Star Citizen for several years. Because they started working in 2024, and by 2026, when it releases, those devs will have been fully entrenched in Star Citizen's sort of like release and its design. So they'll be able to take what they learned from Star Citizen and export it back to Squadron 42 Part 2. And then, so Star Citizen becomes the incubator for the gameplay of Squadron 42 that they can then export and, massage and stuff like that. Problem is, Squadron 42 costs like $500 million to make. $500 million to make over the course of 13 years. But that money's already paid for. There's no publisher who paid them $500 million to make it, who's saying money now. CIG's engine is a fucking mess. There's no way they're going to be able to promote and market that engine to anybody. I'm just saying, if they make a whole year's income off that game, the game was a massive financial waste. What do you mean, Joel? $120 million for the game release is a financial waste? How is $120 million in profit a financial waste? This whole conversation is skewed by the fact that we paid them to make the game, so profit is tricky. That's the thing. Traditional model that you would look at in terms of video games is publisher gives X millions of dollars to developer to develop the game. The developer then develops the game, and then when the game is released, all of that profit will then go back to the publisher who released that game in the first place. So the publisher wants a return on their investment because infinite growth and capitalism and all that wonderful shit. Star Citizen is funded by the backers, so it doesn't have a profit motive in the sense of it needs to make money in order to get infinite growth for its investors. It simply needs to make a profit, meaning it needs to be able to make money over a long period of time, because it doesn't have some big financial overhead that it's looking to pay. There's the Calders, who have proven time and time again to consistently continue to want to be part of this company because they see the success going down, but they've had many chances to off-ramp from the company and have not done so. So whatever it is, they're invested, they're here to make some money into whatever. We know that they're friends of Chris and Sandy. So while that is a interesting situation, which could require something, they're still, in for a couple million. It's like 40, maybe it's more than that. It's like 100 million, maybe, that they're in for. So even if they pulled out, if Squadron 42 made 124 million in its first year of release, they could pay that off with that profit, because that money is just going to go straight into the company. It's not going into anyone else but the company. It's a weird situation where CIG is not under the pressure to publish a game that has to be good on day one and be good forever. I think there's still a professional and PR pressure to make the game function on day one and good on day one. But it's not a situation where it has to be super profitable on day one. I think they will too. More than 120 million. But there's a lot of other factors to play. Yeah, CIG has unique problems that nobody else wants, but they also have unique advantages. That's the situation. It's like, there will definitely be people who say, well, this game didn't make $500 million, so it's a failure. But it's like, the lights are still on. People are still getting paid. They're still making Star Citizen. They'll probably still make part 2, and hopefully part 3 if part 2 does well. So is that a failure? It's a failure in the eyes of like big corporation, which infinite money go up. But from the perspective of what Star Citizen was supposed to be and what CIG was designed to do, which is publish a video game, it's fine. I don't think they can pull what happens with Cyberpunk 2077. I don't think they could release a game that broken and get away with it, because the game still has to be fun and engaging on release, and not have major bugs. Will it have bugs? Every game has bugs. I've been playing Cyberpunk 2077 in my free time because I've finally slowed down a little bit with the development with content work, and it still has bugs. That game has got some weird fucking bugs. But it's playable and it's fun. Like, the key is are the bugs a hindrance to the game's experience? And if they are just sort of a minor inconvenience, most people will look away from it. If they spent, I'm guessing, $500 million or $500 million of backer money on Squadron 42 and they make 120 million sales, I wish they would just spent the 380 million difference on the PU. Here's the difference, Citizen Joel. Squadron 42 isn't going anywhere. Squadron 42 will remain sold on their website, on Steam, on Epic Games Store. And even if they don't make $500 million their first year, they could easily make that in its lifetime. And that's money that's continuing to be put into the development of Star Citizen and Squadron 42 Part 2. They'll make it back eventually. That's my point. It's like they're in a unique position compared to most developers, because while we joke small indie dev, please don't yell at. They are an indie dev. They're a AAA indie dev, which makes no fucking sense, but it's just the realities of their situation. Why even make an episode 2? What's the point? Chris wants to tell a story. And there's 3 parts to the story that they had to break. There was one story that they had to break into 3 parts because because what we're already getting with part 1 is 40 fucking hours. So if the other 2 parts are similarly paced, then the original game was going to be 90 hours, no, 120 hours of gameplay. But it's a good story. It got a good story. And I feel that's what carried most of 2077. No way Squadron 42 doesn't have a good story. Here's the thing. I like someone saying like Cyberpunk 2077 is badass. I like Cyberpunk 2077. It feels like a video game. It is unapologetically a video game, but it's still telling interesting stories. It is what CD Projekt Red does really well. There are weird dialogue parts in there where it's like the dialogue is definitely stilted and very much doesn't feel like it fits in the universe, and other times it works perfectly. But it's really fun. I enjoy it as a video game, and it's unabashedly a video game, which is nice because there's a lot of games out there that are like, we're a cinema, or we're, trying to do something unique and different and quirky. It's like, this is just, it is a game. These are the points, you do the game thing, and the fun comes from the flavor and the way you can approach things. As somebody who's actually read the Squadron 42 story and kind of knows the plot points, I don't think Squadron 42's story is groundbreaking, but you get what you pay for. It's a solid military themed game where you play some guy. You are some gal, some guy. You're just space person. Space person in the right place at the wrong time kind of thing. You have an 8-hour motorcycle ride. Which of my lore podcasts would I recommend? If you listen to all of them, you'll probably get through all 8 hours. I think there's 8 or so episodes, or maybe a little bit more than that, and they're each about 45 minutes to an hour. I've been messing with Freelancer again and rereading the lore. I'm certain Chris has snuck some of it into Star Citizen. Yes. Chris Roberts has been making the same game since the 90s. He's just evolving it and changing it. It's clear that the original sort of vision of Star Citizen, for instance, in Squadron 42 was like, this was to be, because Chris is very specifically wanted this to take place 900 and some odd years in the future. He wanted this to be World War II in space, where it's in 2940s. And the reason why, if you look at the lore, is it's clear the Tavarin were supposed to be the Kilrathi. And the plot at the end of Wing Commander 4 is basically what the Mezzers would become. Effectively, Bishop, not Bishop, or is it Paladin? I think it's Bishop. Who's the main antagonist? It was Paladin, right? And it was the main antagonist, the Admiral Beckett. Was it Beckett? The Admiral. 930, yeah. He's Mezzer. He's the inspiration for Mezzer. Obviously, they changed it around a little bit because Mezzer is also supposed to be the Julius Caesar kind of input, but you can see the parallels between Chris's own universes. And this is supposed to be the distant future of Wing Commander universe. Startech, that's what it was. That's the reason why Captain's Table exists. So it might have been Bishop. Whoever the Admiral was. No, Talwyn. The Admiral Talwyn. That was his name, right? Played by Clockwork Orange. Forgetting his name. The Paladin was Gimli. Malcolm McDowell. Thank you. Yeah, spoilers for Wing Commander 4. One of the best Wing Commanders out there, honestly. It's got a really good story. And it's clear that Squadron 42's story is heavily inspired by that style of game. speaking of all of this funding, though, let's take a look at this, because I do want to talk about May's funding, because it's kind of insane. Jin's been tracking it and been looking at it, and at its current pace, CIG has 2 days left. But yeah, 2 days left. They're currently at 28 million. So they've tied November 2023. November 2023 was the biggest month they've ever had in funding. They made 28 million in November. Admiral Tom hit an inspiring measure. I can see that. Yeah. So like there's Chris, it seemed like Freelancer has similar stuff. It's got elements of the Wing Commander story in there as well. Chris does what a lot of writers do, which is he sort of build the universe, and now he's just trying to rebuild that universe a bunch of different times with different tweaks to see how it works. So based off of this chart, which could be wrong, they've made 28 million, which in November 23, 28 million. 27,617,000. So they are, so it's not 28 million, it's 27. So they're about a million away from breaking the record. And I don't want anyone tell me like this is because of the Idris. This isn't because of the Idris. But also, year to date, they're at 61 million. They didn't reach 61 million until August. And in 2022, they reached it in June. In 2021, they didn't reach it until October. Not even then. They sold the same, maybe a little bit more, but not that much. Not enough to justify one of the biggest months they've ever had. The Idris was definitely more popular, but the Idris upgrade kits, the MTC, the TAC, all of these ships being sold are big, on top of Star Citizen being more playable than ever. And ironically, the thing that I'm pissed off at CIG about, CIG did the thing they always fucking do, is they turned news stories into advertisements. CIG is the only company that I can think of who has successfully gamed the media. Oh, the Asgard too, yeah. True, GTA. Rockstar did the same thing when they first started out with GTA, but they intentionally inflamed the media. CIG doesn't intentionally inflame media. They just have figured out a way where their fuck-ups become advertisements. Off topic, kind of, you should try to get this guy on the captain's table sometime. He's got a cool upcoming channel where he's been making his owner manuals for ships, thrusters, and dust on YouTube. I think I've seen some of his videos pop up on my feed, so I'll take a look at them. Sure. Also, it's likely the Ironclad, the Perseus, and Apollo might launch this year, which will supercharge sales more. Oh, it will, for sure. When the Perseus comes out, it's going to supercharge sales because that's not hull limited. Everyone will have a Perseus flying around. CIG doesn't try to inflame anyone. They're just naturals at it. It also helps that this literally at the same time that CIG fucked up and then managed to at least quiet the noise a little bit, Bungie decided to say, hold my beer. and absolutely dominate the gaming conversation for the last week or so. It's still out there. Any publicity is good publicity, is no trade secret, but typically it doesn't do well with gaming companies or companies in general, especially since most companies, when they get bad news, it's usually about their products being awful or their dealings being shady. But CIG has this weird thing where they fuck up publicity-wise, but as of late, they've been getting better in terms of gameplay-wise. So this publicity fucked them up right when they had a free flight, so they got their name out there, and people went, oh, this game is free to play? Lol, let me go try it out to see how bad this shit is. And they downloaded it and were like, this is kind of fun, actually. That must be what happened, because, and I've heard this story from many people in chat before who've become fans, who started off as saying Star Citizen's a scam, I'm not going to bother playing it, and then they eventually got into it because they became aware of it through the scam conversation and are now diehard fans. I literally talked with someone today on Blue Sky who was basically like that, who said, like, yeah, I hated this game, and then I tried it and I'm like, holy shit, I might be drinking the Kool-Aid. I get it now. I understand it. Also, like I said, one of my students is a citizen. He doesn't have the game, but he follows the game because he follows why am I blanking on his name? He's British. He did a bunch of GTA stuff before he did Star Citizen. Ollie. He follows Ollie. But like, I was talking to my students today because it was the last day, and so I promised them that I'd give them my content ID. So some of them may be in chat right now. Hello. This is kind of a light day. 89 viewers, and then I've got like 131 on YouTube. So it's light. Ollie 43, yeah. And even he, the one who was already a fan of Star Citizen, was like, it's great, it's amazing, you all should play it more. And I'm like, dude, calm down. I've been following this game for 12 years. It's not quite ready yet. It's playable. It's not a demo, because the one was, isn't that a demo? I'm like, you can play it. It's better than a demo, but, you know, it's still an alpha. Names are long to annoy anybody. Kraken is in development. Well, they said it's gonna be coming into development at the end of the year. Dude's drank a gallon of the Kool-Aid. He's 18, all right? He also hasn't played the game because he doesn't have a system that can play it yet, so. Hey, Radium. It's such a weird situation, chat. Where I'm in a situation where, like I would say this time last year, Twitch was always bigger than YouTube in terms of my following, and now my YouTube is bigger than my Twitch in terms of live streaming. It's sometimes just nice for sponsored streamers to fanboy over Star Citizen without mentioning that people dislike it because of the tedium and store chores. That's why we end up quitting after a time. I don't think so. And you'd also have to say sponsored streamers in the sense that OneFlame, I don't think CIG has paid anyone to play Star Citizen. Unless you have evidence otherwise. Because that's a common misnomer that people think that like CIG has paid a bunch of big name streamers to stream the game. And unless they disclose that they have been paid to stream the game, and that's a violation of a lot of laws that can get people in trouble, including CIG. You said sponsored. Sponsored is still pay. I'm not sponsored by CIG. CIG has given me giveaways to do. I did one in the past there. But it's not the same as sponsored. Sponsored implies they were paid to do something. It's better when people talk about the good and bad. I think most people talk about the good and bad, but it's also an entertainment issue. So, like, think about it like this: if I'm making a lore, if I'm doing a lore video about Star Citizen, do I have to? Is it my moral responsibility to also mention in every single lore video that the lore is an alpha as much as the game is an alpha, and some things are going to get changed and retconned? Because I don't think so. It's a story. It's a story in a fictional universe. Of course, it might be changed, but you don't expect that to be done with, like, say, Warhammer 40K or Halo or Bungie or Destiny, which they could change. You know, retcons are a thing in every universe. Yes, if I get paid, no matter who, of course I would say good things, more customers. Yeah, but you're implying that people are getting paid, and I've never seen anybody get paid to play it. No, I was pointing out that you said the people that hate on the game don't have valid reason. It sounded disingenuous. What are you talking about, One Flame? Okay, dude. If you're going to come in here claiming that I'm being paid by CIG to... One Batman show, your humble host and space bartender here at the AstroPub, your space bar at the end of the universe. Sit back, relax, enjoy the show. We got a good one for you. What did you drop into? It was just a weird conversation. Someone seemed to be implying with a lot of winky faces that I was paid. I was paid to streams and create great content for Star Citizen, and constantly being like, "It's okay. I understand why you don't want to say negative things about it because you're getting paid for it, and obviously it's going to help you out." I'm like, I'm not getting paid. And then he's like, "Oh, I didn't say you were getting paid. I just said you were sponsored." It's like, but you implied being paid. It's like, well, yeah, it's okay. What? I'm not sponsored by CIG. I mean, people do get paid you're a Twitch partner, so you do get paid to play games. That is true. But CIG doesn't pay me. Amazon pays me. Bezos pays me. Bezos bucks. Yeah, no, if CIG was paying me money, I would have to disclose it. And don't get me wrong, I'd love for CIG to pay me money to do YouTube content for them, like lore videos. Fuck yeah, I'd do that in a heartbeat. And I'd definitely disclose CIG paid me to do this. But they won't, because that's not how CIG works. Paul's getting paid in exposure, it's gross. Put the pants back on, Chris. I've proposed, I have to do a formal written proposal because that's at one point Xylo told me to do that. of doing a series to get people caught up for the release of Squadron 42. So like a short series that I would write and create, and then CIG would either post on their own website or their own YouTube, or I would post it and they would, promote it as sort of like an in-fiction version of like a historian history sort of like documentary. It's sort of like breaking down the important bits of like how we got to where we are in 2945 during the Battle of Vega. Nope, Squadron 42 isn't going to be coming out until next year. And yeah, you've been very clear in the past when CIG screws up too. My biggest video right now on YouTube for the AstroPub YouTube is literally just me shitting on CIG for the blade stuff. Paul's exposure is known to have very visible side effects, some of which include hyperfixation on space lore. Yes, Bio, I know, we used to stream together. How you doing? You still in Florida? Did you finally get your new helm? Yes. You were never in Florida? I thought you were in Florida. I may be confusing you with another Bio. This is the new helmet. I had to build it myself. It's literally the same helmet as the other one, but it came in pieces and instructions on how to build it. It's not, I didn't build it right. It has cracks, but it doesn't have to be space worthy. It just has to look good. Biogen is what I'm thinking, yeah. The old helmet's still around. It's just the windshield broke and it's falling apart. Oh, yeah, I know that. I remember that Bio. Paul, but in their person plastic bag. Yeah. Wax some tape on there and call it why not call it a why not helmet. It's a Castac Arms helmet. Ooh, I could probably get Drake sticker and slap it on there. Even as a wing commander, CIG will not listen to my input and storm and strike. Yeah. Oh yeah, I remember that. We did a Star Citizen. Was it a Star Citizen podcast or was it just a regular? It was a different podcast Bio. I think I think we did one podcast and then we never did it again. I remember that though, yeah. Space games in general, yeah. I remember that. That's a blast from the past. That was a long time ago. Got a scheduling hell, yeah. If CIG are smart, they should post your lore videos on their website and other content creators. Not late, but I always like to point out that whenever there's a new 40K game that comes out, I'm blanking on his name. Because I want to say Loken, because I know Loken likes 40K, but it's not Loken. And Loken's always chuffed when I confuse his name with that. Luton. Yeah, they do have a streamer thingy, but it's not like sponsored streamers. It literally just pulls the Twitch. It's an API puller, so it pulls all of the videos from the Star Citizen category into their community page. Luton. Whenever there's a new 40K game that's released, they pay Luton to make a video to give context for the game they made. They did it with Darktide. They did it with Rogue Trader. I don't know if they did it with Space Marine 2. I don't think they did it with Space Marine 2, but they did it with the other ones. You know what's fun? I found the store bug that they're having with the Idris sales last year with the Pioneer. I reported in CHE, blew me off like I was a crazy person. They do that a lot. Honestly, Space Marine 2 and Darktide were pretty solid. They were. But my point is that, like, he did a video. He did a video about those games, the lore behind those games. And while they weren't, like, huge... Let me look up the total. So he did a video in October of 2022 covering the Rogue Traders and the Coronis Expanse from the game. Yes, Luton, I know. It currently sits at about 500,000 views. Almost 500,000 views. Pretty good. Not great for a Luton video. Luton usually gets about 1.5 million, 1 million views, but he's a pretty big streamer, right? Pretty big content creator. But I guarantee you that more people were talking about Rogue Trader, the video game, because he did a video on it. I think Bungie does the same thing with Biff. I always say Biff, but I know it's not Biff. It's something else. He gets pissed off when you pronounce it Biff. BYF. My name is BYF. Bife. Bife. I know he's British. He's very young, but British. I can't remember the name for a podcast either. The point being is that it puts more content out about said topic in YouTube space, which is a lot more organic if you know you're not going to get a lot of people normally looking into it. And I guarantee you that more people engage with the content because Luton did a video on Rogue Traders than would have engaged with an advertisement if it was done on YouTube. For the same cost of whatever it cost to hire Luton to do a video on that. Yeah, he did Destiny lore mostly. He grew up a couple. No, he was surprisingly young because he was like in his teens when he did Destiny lore, and now he's a pretty big YouTuber and like in his mid 20s, like early to mid 20s. When I found that, I was like, damn. But my point being, like, when companies reach out to their content creators who have specific niches and give them and sponsor them to do a little bit of videos for them, to like do a video for them, that sponsorship goes a lot longer, a lot more, because you give those creators freedom to be able to sort of express themselves the way they want to with that content than they would otherwise. And I'm not just saying this for myself. Ship reviewers, if like for like Squadron 42, if they gave people who do ship reviews, who cover a lot of ship stuff, access to some of the Gladius stuff from there, or gave an interview gave interviews to specific community members who do a lot of content, like Mac or Board or Mike or Jojo or 5-Star or any of those people who do a lot of content, giving them sort of like one-to-one interviews. Avenger One talking with doing interviews with some of the developers about specific like flight models, stuff like that. Those sorts of things. Those videos would probably do well for promotional material, but CIG is resistant against that idea. So what I'm trying to say is that not only am I not paid by CIG fucking anything, the most they give me in monetary value is ships and stuff to give away, which does have a monetary value, but like $500, $600 maximum. Usually it's less than that a month. I would be a fool to throw away my integrity for like a Misc Fortune package, which was like what, $150 for a month. Paul, it doesn't have to look good. It has to look good. It just doesn't have to be space worthy. Email me. Look, if I'm gonna make a Mazarov cosplay, it's gonna be at least three. Is it 3 rated? My point being, CIG paycheck here. My point being is that it's pretty common practice for a lot of, especially indie games and smaller developers, but also larger developers, to connect with the community and pay content creators to do certain content as both a way of saying, hey, we like your content, here you go, please make us more content. But also because it helps engage with the community and engage with the wider gaming audience in a way that doesn't work if you're a company like CIG. Jared is fantastic. He's amazing. I love Jared, but Jared still works for CIG and is still constrained by that working relationship. Whereas I don't necessarily have a working relationship with CIG beyond our, like, they give me chips to give away sometimes. Level 3 rated. Okay, level 3. I would not watch a Jared lore video. I think Jared would do a great lore video. And I'd love to see the lore team have be given the resources they need to do stuff. But I mean, they're writers. Like, I love them to write. Yes, 4.0 by summer 2024, Disco Lando. Because Jared is also the head of media, and he's got a really great team of content makers who could do really good, interesting content around like lore stuff. But that's not their goal. That's not their main. Like, I know for right now, like, let me put it to you this way. I just released, I'll pull this up real quick. I just released the lore on the Idris, right? Right in time for the Idris to be released. Perfect hit for SEO algorithm. Was my best timed release I've ever done. And it is currently sitting at 17,543. Not bad for my standards. To give you context, the lore of Pyro, which released like the day, like the week of Pyro being released for 4.0 in December, has 22,000. The Gladius video, which is probably my best received video ever, has 38,000. Now, all big numbers, right? I'm gonna look up Space Tomato. There's Space Tomato. I look up a video that he did 7 days ago. Okay. So a week ago, which talks about CIG's finally acknowledging Star Citizen's development difficulties. 59,000 views. Star Citizen Corp gameplay video update from quantum travel to control surfaces, which is his hover mode version 2. Released 2 weeks ago. 29,000 views. One month ago, Star Citizen 411 is for solo players, script, reputation, and solo contracts. 63,000 views. Okay. He doesn't get below 10,000 views until 13 days ago when he did a video on 411 features. And his latest one, which was released 6 days ago, has 10K views, which was on 4.2 stuff. And Grey Cat MTC video he did for like 12,000 views. But most of his views are like 20K or more. And he releases a video like on this channel twice a week. I release a video twice a month. So my point being, if I know that lore isn't the content that people go to. Let me look up, it's JoJo. So it's JoJo, good creator, go watch them. They're about the same. Yeah, about the same in terms of those views. Good Super Mac. Mike? Yeah. Interesting. Just a couple of a little bit of looking at, and I'm saying, oh, maybe I am doing pretty good. But yeah, no, generally speaking, I'm about half the views of most traditional content creators, which is still pretty good. Don't get me wrong. But just in general, I know that if I wanted to get more views, I could go down that route of like daily uploads of like content and that kind of thing, of like following development and such. And that would probably net me more views. So I know like lore isn't really that enticing. And if you look at like the lore videos that CIG does and compare them to their update videos, they're like half the total amount of views on their lore videos compared to their update videos. Any Astro Historian videos cooking in the oven. One on Hurston's, of obviously the miscellaneous ships of the UE Navy. What else? What's this next? What else? I've got the complete history of Star Citizen Lore 5. I've got a primer video for Star Citizen, like Star Citizen story, the 1.0 story of Star Citizen, the story of Star Citizen, the main story of Star Citizen. comparison to Thief of Joy and all that. But I know that you did not compare yourself to Sodium Michael. Did not. I did look up Mike, and I looked at Mike's content just in general, because like of what just general content, and even Mike's content is generally about the same. My point wasn't that like, woe is me, please watch my videos. I mean, do, but like, it's more of the fact that I understand that lore as a video concept isn't as popular in the Star Citizen community as ship reviews, as lore, or as content about like updates and stuff like that, leaks. Yeah, I'm surprised. Like, I looked at Mike's stuff, and Mike's averages are about the same as like tomatoes and salty and boards and like Mac. Even JoJo's were similar. Like JoJo's were lower in comparison. Not yet, at least. Eventually, it will be better. Nice. We love them and reference them regularly at RPNet when we discuss them. We discuss lore. It's important to also remember that like anything I do is using sources that I can pull, and I try to post all the sources when I can. I tend to not do those recently because a lot of it is just a pain in the ass to do so because it's lore, it's game lore. And when people ask me where I find this stuff, it's like, typically it's ship release content, Jump Point magazine, and any of the number of like the lore releases they've done over the last 13 years. Amount of time someone posts to. Doesn't YouTube have algorithms for the amount of time someone posts to? Yes, they do. Been 2 years since playing this work in progress, counting the years, hoping it'll be ready for launch before I die. 2 people I played with have already passed on. When's the last time you played it, Silas? And how old are you? I think when Squadron 42 is coming out, CIG will probably pay big streamers to play it like other studios do. I don't think they should. I think they should give big streamers access to it early. 2 years ago. Oh, so you haven't played in 2 years. You're 56. Okay, yeah. That age, it makes sense. You've had people who you know who passed on. I appreciate you, Paul. Sometimes I honestly don't want to watch, but you're a solid, respectable guy, and your content has unique value. Thank you, Pizza. My point was that I know that lore doesn't have a lot of value. I know that CIG won't invest a lot of time and money into that content because there's not a lot of return on investment for that right now. But yeah, Silas, if you haven't played in 2 years, the game has changed a fuck ton in 2 years. It is more playable than it has ever been right now. I wouldn't suggest new players hop in right now because CIG's sort of weird monetization fuck up they haven't fully addressed in my opinion, which I hope they do a little bit in this next patch. But the like, if you already have the game, fuck, it's so much better to play right now. Let's see, in the last 2 years, cargo running's been added, salvage has been added, mining has been refined. We've got different types of mining now in terms of like small, medium, large sort of rocks. We've got Pyro, a brand new star system was added this year, at the end of last year, early this year, with fully fleshed out with missions and all these sorts of things. You got a Freelancer Max, Prospector, and a Ross. You would probably like it right now. Like, legitimately, I have a really up-to-date PC, granted, but like my really up-to-date PC can get in Quantum like 270 frames, and in Deep Space I'm getting like 90 to 100. Even in cities I'm getting 30 to 50 FPS. And while 30Ks still do happen, the recovery is a lot better now. So it just sort of recovers right back into the game much more often. And they don't happen a lot. Like, I think I've had one server error in the last month, and it recovered right back to where I was. There's still bugs and there's still problems. There's some weird issues that happened, but they're more consistent in terms of how to work around them, and they're still being worked on. They didn't have recovery 2 years ago? Well, yeah, now they have recovery. Where 30K is like the server goes down, but then it comes back. They just need to refine from our station inventory so you can have proper mining operations now. Oh, yeah. You can disconnect the mining bags and send them back to a station, put them in a inventory, drop them down, and then refine from there. Lore's my favorite stuff in Star Citizen. I like the story of Star Citizen a lot because, in my opinion, I become more invested in what CIG does when I see the framework that they've built. The same thing, I'm weird like that though, because I'm the same thing with Cyberpunk. Like, I feel like I like Cyberpunk more because I understood the lore before going in. I played the game, like the Cyberpunk 2020 when it came out, the TTRPG. I literally lived in the same city as Mike Pondsmith growing up. I went to this, Games of Berkeley was a place that we the only place you could go to in the East Bay that had the best, experience there. And Mike Pondsmith was a regular there. The guy who wrote it. So like, when I heard that the Cyberpunk video game was coming out, I was like, that's neat. But I'd not played Witcher, so I wasn't really super invested. And then I've been playing Cyberpunk 2077 a lot more just because I had never beaten it. I got to a point where I was just like, yeah, this is fine. And then I kind of stopped. But people like play it again to get Phantom Liberty. It's completely different. And I can see what they did with Phantom Liberty in the updates. It's better for sure. But it's really more refined than it is better. It's more like focused than it used to be. And like me understanding the corporate wars, the new King of Arasaka Tower, the Black Wall, the AI wars, and that kind of stuff made me understand a little bit more, Chutu, and all of the wonderful shit that was going on. Made me like it a little bit better. And then all of the new lore they added, like the Unification Wars and the rebuilding of Night City and all that kind of stuff was fascinating to me. So like I got me more invested in the universe because of that. And it felt better to respond to questions and like statements in game because I understood what was going on. I understood the context of what was being said. And I feel that's the same way, it will work the similar way for any game that I play. So I'm a little different in that. Like, I know I'm unique. I'm a special snowflake. I'm unique in that sense. I don't think I'm unique. I think there's plenty of you in chat who are similar to that. But like, I need to be invested in the universe in order to really care about the game. The game's still missing one feature that I consider critical, which is drop in and drop out character placement. You mean being able to just warp wherever you want? I don't think CIG will ever do that, Alex. You will not be able to spawn in at any location you want to at any given time. That is too far. I don't think CIG will do that. To blow everyone's minds, 318 was 2 years ago. That's how far they've come. Damn. I love it. I know I love it. Just need to separate from full to empty ore bags in the freight elevator. Still no bomb racks and blades in the PTU. If they don't release 4.2 with bomb racks and blades, there's going to be a fucking riot. CAG is going to have just the equal amount of shitstorm they kicked up earlier, because this is something that they can't get away from. I don't care. No, wherever you, I mean, no, not wherever you want, but near it, so you can quickly get back to where you were doing. If you were in the safe spot, you logged out and exactly what you're doing. Oh, so like you're talking about like if you logged out in a bed in a ship in your hangar, when you log back in, you're in your in the bed in your ship in that same hangar. The 18 was the last I played until Invictus this year. You're not alone, Mr. Drunken Irish. That's pretty common, actually. A lot of people seem to have come back to the game in the last 3 months or so. But also to give you, to put some perspective, chat, just in general. Of my top 5 lore videos in terms of performance, 1, 2, yeah. Of my top 5 lore videos, only 2 of them are Star Citizen. I literally have only covered 4 games in my lore videos. Cyberpunk, Starfield, Helldivers, and Titanfall. I said 4, yeah. I think 4, those are the only 4 games I've ever covered in terms of lore. My top video is a complete history of the Titanfall lore. And it has smoked my next top one, which is 128,000 for the Bengal Carrier one. The Titanfall lore video has 177,000 views and is still getting routinely 1,000 views a day. So my point being, Star Citizen lore, even though I cover it almost exclusively, isn't as big as everything else I've done. Like my Helldivers 2 primer is 70,000 views. And then my one on the Colony Wars is 65,000 from Starfield. Have you ever thought about covering Elite Dangerous lore? I might. I'm more interested in doing more mech-based stuff, so I'm going to do like one on Armored Core. I'm obviously going to do one on Mech Warrior and Battletech. Those other games seem to be popular with the wider gaming community. They are, for sure. They're much more popular, which is why I get higher views on those. So, like, that's to keep things in perspective. Like, it is 100%. It's 100% like Star Citizen is just a tiny fish right now. We think it's this big, massive game where everyone who has purchased it will purchase it, but it's like no one fucking knows this game. Like, it is absolutely unknown in the wider scheme of things. I've been covering this content for like 9-10 years now. It is a joke. Star Citizen's content is a joke in comparison to other games in terms of its impact. There are games that are less content filled than Star Citizen that are far more popular. They're also more complete. But I think the older I get, the more I agree. If I can passively build an appreciation for lore of a game when I'm not playing, it makes a little bit of the time I have to play it feel meaningful. If you did Tarkov lore, you might do better than Star Citizen. Probably. I think your lore videos will spike when Squadron 42 comes out. I believe so as well. That's the reason why I've been making specifically Squadron 42 videos, lore videos. That's why I did the capital ships of the UE Navy. That's weird. I'm looking at it right now. I think that's the case. So fucking weird. Damn. So my sub-cap ships of the UEE Navy has done better than my capital ships of the UEE Navy. Yeah, by like 10,000 views. Woo! I had to redo the thumbnail and change the name. I'll just change the name right now, actually. It might be. The Polaris video is one of my biggest ones too. The Polaris video is really the one that started changing my perspective on how to do content. Because what I've noticed is if a video is longer than 20 minutes, I shoot for about 30 minutes. So if it's around 30 minutes longer, it will do better in the algorithm than shorter videos. Why do you think it's like that, Paul? That Star Citizen is not as popular in terms of history content, in terms of lore content, in terms of all content, actually. Even Star Citizen's like biggest content creators, like that do kind of like gameplay content or cover like the development, just their videos are nothing, and their views are nothing in compared to other games. It's because Star Citizen just isn't a popular title yet. It doesn't matter. I genuinely believe that Star Citizen is just not known. There are people who know it, and the people who know it either love it or hate it, or, you know, there's a lot of people on the fence, but it's not nearly as many people engage with the content as much as you think. Like right now, it seems weird because I have 109 people on Twitch and 131 people on YouTube. So it's like, you know, combined 240 people who are watching this content right now. But in the grand scheme of things, you know, moderately successful streamers who stream Arma or do Arma content will get in the ballpark of 100K views on like 20, 30-minute videos in like a week. And Arma is a tiny game compared to Star Citizen, but it's got a lot more of a popular appeal. I do free PC gaming rooms at conventions just by experience, but about 30 to 40% of people who come to the free PC game room have heard of Star Citizen, and that's at a nerd convention. So only a third to around a third of the people who you've talked to at these nerd conventions even have heard of the game. So they should put you in game like Wicklow, where you can stay in a museum, learn about the lore and game. I mean, CG is doing that, but yeah. I loved Paul's lore video shorts. The ones that I did are 10 minutes long, or the actual short ones that I did. They found out capitals were too big. Yeah. I would have templates ready to go when anything releases. I'm doing good. School's out. I still have one more day left of service, the service day, but I'll be done on Friday before 5. I'll probably be out before like 2. Because it's just signing off things, you know, and making sure that everything's solid, and I'm done. My point of all of this is mostly to say, in general, Star Citizen content isn't as wide-reaching as you think. And Star Citizen as a game isn't as popular as big as you think. And so it is almost a miracle that CIG has managed in the last 3 years to make over $100 million. Like, I do not know how they've been able to do that, quite frankly. While also growing the community to several million people. Am I going to be streaming more often now that school's going to be over? Yes and no. I will definitely be streaming earlier in some cases. Like this Monday, I realized I have graduation itself that I have to go to. So I will be streaming earlier than I normally would be. As a school principal, I tell my people that I'm not counting cars in the lot. If you're done, go home. Oh God. Admins in chat. Everyone shut up, admins in chat. Yes, I filled out my my lesson plan. Yes, I sent it to your email. It sucks for you, Strider, because you've got to stay. Like if you're after the last day, you're probably there for like a week after everyone's gone to deal with all the bullshit. Boss is here. It's not my boss as far as I know. My boss is leaving. Wait till you can run crisis videos start to flow with Squadron 42. Can you run Squadron 42? Yeah. So you're on school holidays? Cool. For the next 2 months. Yeah. Though I still have to do in-service days. I've still got about 12 hours of service days that I have to do before the end of this summer. I also work at a school, and our school students have been gone for a couple of weeks now. It's great. It's so nice. I love kids. I love teaching and all that kind of stuff. I always say, don't get into teaching if you like content. Get into teaching if you like teaching kids. Yeah. It's going to be taken out of context. But you have to like to engage with the youth, to be a mentor, a teacher, a hybrid parent and mentor and friend and, teacher all in one, counselor all in one. You have to kind of like to engage with the youth to be a teacher. And that being said, it is so nice when you have days just to like focus on something other than teaching, because there's so much bullshit when it comes to teaching in terms of paperwork and such you have to get through. Oh man. I was in game earlier doing my usual post PTU download ritual, and people were complaining about the Idrai camping the new location thing on Pyro 1. I mean, welcome to Star Citizen. When CIG adds a new location in 4.3 or 4.4, they'll move away from the new location. That's always going to be the case. How am I doing today, though? Oh, yeah, I already said it, yeah. Just going back. Like I said, today's kind of weird. There's not a lot of content. I mean, it does suck. Being a teacher does suck. The non-PvPers get to enjoy content about a patch behind. I do think that there is a legitimate accusation to level at CIG that there really isn't a lot of repeatable and enjoyable loops that don't involve combat in Star Citizen. There's always going to be a risk of combat, but no combat. I remind them they will complain more when the Perseus is in game. There will be multiple Persei, several Idrai, and loads of Polari in the game, and watch the frame rate go haywire. I don't think so. I think by the time we get the Perseus in game, CIG will have released things like Vulkan and probably dynamic meshing, or close to it at least. I honestly believe that they would have had dynamic meshing out by now if they didn't have to also like do this sort of focus on securing the game. I think the most popular game loop without combat is the CCU game loop. It's called the upgrade loop now, not CCU. Look at Polaris Rex at the mining sites and caves in the new locations last patch. No, only one person left from the server meshing, as far as I know. The lead of it, but he was retiring basically. I saw that Insider Gaming post as well, but I don't think it was the team, it was the dude. Upgrade loop? Yeah. Yeah, the idea being a lot of people follow the game so that they can try to get discounts on their ships. Because if you get enough CCUs, basically, if a ship is available for a certain price, which is a discounted price that it normally would be, you can get a ship that's just below that price and pay for a upgrade from that ship to the new ship at the updated price. So even if that price is normally $230 and it's now $200, if you get a ship that's $195 and get a $5 upgrade CCU to that ship, even if that ship is only available for that at that limited time at that cost, when it goes back up, you now have basically saved $20 because it's $20 cheaper than it was before. And that loop, you can then chain those together to create upgrade chains. So you can have a situation where a ship that normally costs $600, $700, you can get for like $100 because of the right chains that you can get. And it can be kind of addicting. The dude responded on Twitter and told the writer to shut the fuck up. I didn't know that. I saw a response. One person responded on Blue Sky. It was like, absolutely not. Late to the party, best May ever. Can you expand on it? So CIG, in terms of funding, their best May ever was 2024, last year, where they made 25 million until this month. They've made 27 million, almost $28 million. So their funding has been pretty good. Let's look at their citizen increase by citizens. In May, they increased it by about 95K, and it's about 86K for May 2025. But yeah, it's not going to be May 2022 though. So it was getting better, and I think still is getting better than in general. So it's about on average, but the funding is pretty good. And if you look at the actual funding overall, they are, the best month ever was November 2023, I want to say. Yeah, which was 28,451,000. And they're at 27,617,000. So CIG is about $1 million away from having the best month in funding they have ever had. This is in spite of the drama they had earlier. Yes, its citizen count is based on new accounts, so it would include backers who buy the additional accounts as well, right? It's only if you sign up. It's not even new accounts that you purchase the actual game. It's just if you sign up. So the new accounts are the people who sign up for the game, who sign up for an account, but may or may not have a game itself. Also, I saw Sapper and Shelby come in. I always love that name. I've tested the cargo grids of the Raft, the Hull A, and the Cutlass Black. What a relief to see cargo grids working properly again. They're working now, yeah. First world problem, but I can't wait for the Perseus to come out because then I won't have a Polaris loaner and it'll be back to a large hangar from an extra large hangar. I'm with you there. I'm with you there. Thoughts on our hangar on the RSI website having components and weapons filters? Because they still do give away free weapons and components with certain things. Like if you did upgrade, I can almost guarantee you that some of the referral bonuses they're going to be doing in July are going to be components. Paul, when you've played recently, have you noticed the interiors of the ship's not rendering as you enter the ship? Yeah, there's some weird rendering issues internally, especially with like the freelancers. I've noticed it more on the older ships than the newer ships. But there's definitely some sort of culling going on in terms of, you know, the ship itself. I hope this is not a step towards more components being there, but I think weapons have always been there because one of the rewards for referrals was Badger repeaters. And I think it also counts for FPS weapons as well. So like when you get those like free FPS weapons from Luminalia and stuff like that, that's added into that list as well. But year on year, they're about where they were at the end of August 2023, which is their best, which was their best. So in 3 months, better right now. 2023, yeah, they're above, or they're at or above 2023. And that was their best year ever, yeah. CIG would have to really hit the fucking skids in the next couple of months for them to not have the best year ever. Only 400K to go to beat. Really? Because last I checked, it was 20. It's 800K. It's a little over 800K to beat because in November 2023 they had 28,415,000. Whereas right now they have 27,617,000. So 400 million to get them to, or 400,000 to, will get them to 28 million, but they need another 400,000. And it doesn't even matter if they beat November 2023. Like the point is that they're challenging that right now. Ah, yes. Voyager Direct. Yes, no, CIG is really good at killing their own momentum. I think for once they may actually continue their momentum into June, but the killer is always July and August. Because like if you look at the funding, and it always tracks that out there. In July of 2023, their best year of funding ever, they made $4 million. In August, they make $3 million. They did the same in June and June and July of 2024. Like their best July ever was in 2022, and they made $6 million. In August, their best ever, and they made $5 million. Yeah, pretty consistently actually. Since 2020, they made $5 million in August up until 2023 and 2024. What is Voyager Direct? Oh, don't. It's Space Amazon. It was supposed to be the in-game version of Amazon that you would then order from and they would deliver it to your hangar. But it was a place where you could literally buy weapons and equipment from the store and have it be added to your account in-game. And it was used AUEC or used UEC that you could use then to purchase it. Spamazon? Yes. Might be different from this year since they are trying to do monthly content releases. I 100% believe that. The thing that I've said, and I said this a lot last year, which is if CIG wants to increase funding, release content. If they did a monthly patch, or if they did regular patches, they would get higher spikes. And I went back and looked at the data, and every single time they released a new patch, their funding spiked. And if it didn't spike at the patch release, it spiked within the week of the patch release. And it didn't matter if it was a sale or not a sale, it always spiked during releases. That's why I said release more content. And as we can see, that's what's happened. January 2024, 5 million. January 2023, 8 million. January 2022, 7 million. January 2025, 8 million. And it was actually 777 and 774. So this squeezed out a better by like 20,000. 2022, 7 million, 4 million, 5 million, 8 million. Beat it by about 300,000. And then fucking March was an absolute schlocking. 10 million versus 7 million and 9 million and 6 million. That 9 million was 8-9. This is 10-4-9. April, 7 million, 6 million, 7 million. So 7 million 9, 7 million 6. So like pretty much every month they have made more money than they've had in previous years. Like this January, February, March, and April were the best January, February, March, and April they've had ever in funding. And what's changed? They've had a patch every one of these months. They've also had a sale every one of these months, but like we're talking like one of them was the Fortune, you know, which far as I can tell isn't very popular. It's sort of popular, but not very popular. People are busy touching grass and time to buy ships. There is a hunger for games in the summer. At least from my personal experience, there is always a group of people who are always looking for new games to play in the summer. Even though more people are out and about, the hardcore fan base is still there. And if you can engage that hardcore fan base of just gamers, you can get a lot of attention if you release something decent in the summer. Hunger Games. This new radiation suit and all the gubbins will be a store at some point. If not, be able to buy in game with AUEC. Almost certainly it'll be in game to buy. If CIG has learned their lesson, all of that stuff will be in game day one, but will also be probably available on the store because they've done that recently as well. The reason why they shut down Voyager Direct was because Voyager Direct was awful and people would just use it to spam to win in Arena Commander. And it was not a good idea in general. A lot of people complained about it, and so they eventually closed it down. And it's weird for CIG to just reinvent Voyager Direct after they closed it down because they forgot how bad it was. You don't have to buy them in game. You can just go pick them up in new facilities. That too. Most of the armor isn't purchasable either. It's either earnable through Wicklow rewards or findable. Yes, Papadopoulos. We talked a little bit about it. The What was October 23? October 23 was 15 million. And what was 23? It was LA. CitizenCon LA. It was the first time CIG had a in-person CitizenCon since COVID. Since 2019. Oh, I have several games in my Steam library that I could do with an airing during summer. I don't need new, not at the cost of what they're asking for nowadays. I know, but I mean, that's what I mean. Like, in my opinion, I think summer is a great time for indie games to release new content or to release. Because there's not a lot of games coming out, because just generally speaking, people, like the average normie gamer won't purchase anything in the summer because they're doing other things. But I think if you had a game that was intriguing and interesting, releasing it in like a July or August, it would do pretty well. And I mean, Baldur's Gate 3, great example. I chose the Fortune over the Vulture because it was because the Fortune doesn't need its buffer manually unloaded. More importantly, has 4 more SCU than it is. It is perfect for components and weapons. I would say the Fortune is contentious at best. A lot of people didn't seem to jive with it. You know, compared to say like the Golem. The Golem is just like people fucking fell in love with that shit. And of course the Heartfire, the Heartseeker, you know, the Super Hornet. People love that one. What was the April ship? It was the Geo, right? April was Geo. Because the Golem was, or was that Golem as well? I don't remember. Because January was the Misfortune. The February was the Heartseeker. March was, I want to say, the Golem, and there was another ship that came out. Golem and Geo. Then what was in April? There was one ship that released in April with 4-1. Maybe Golem and the Golem and the Geo were released in April. Then what was March? What was Stella Fortuna? Regular Atlas was released last September. There was no April patch? There was an April patch. Because we had 401 in January, 402 in February, and then March was 41. Right now we're in 411. So maybe there was no April patch. I thought there was an April patch. Howdy, Paul. I'm mid-packing for a move. Can I get some inspiration to spur me on? Remember Church of the Journey. It's about the journey, not the destination. What you're doing now is more important and more memorable than the actual process of getting to that place. I don't think there was a point patch. Because it's right now in 411, right? So yeah, I think it's the only month we didn't have a patch. And even then, they still beat records. April 2025 was still better than every other April we've ever had. So they've released 4 patches in 5 months. And they claim they're doing 11 patches, which I don't think so. I think they're going to skip some. I fully expect there to be a patch in May or in June, and then there'll be one in July. And I expect one to be in August, but then I expect one to be in September that goes into October. Because that's going to be the CitizenCon patch. And then there's going to be one in November, and then one in December. Haha, Destination, you have to unpack everything, which I'm doing it as well while I watch on laptop. There you go. You'll have memories of and the experiences of being able to build something new out of removing something old. They claim 10 patches, but then in that same apology video or non-apology comment on for the Blades thing, they said they were doing 11 patches. Jared said 10, Tyler said 11. YouTube has shat the bed as Paul was delivering his inspiring speech, and if that doesn't set the mood of the week for me, I don't know what it is. Sorry, T-Gay. I wonder what CIG will do with older ships whose use is no longer aligned with the game. Can you give an example, Kyron? Because I don't think there's any ship that doesn't align with the game at all, other than, say, the Rock DS, and that's more of a like, why do you exist more than a not aligned with the game? Because it's still, you can still use it the same as a Rock. It just doesn't make a lot of sense. The Raylan? How does the Raylan not align with the game? Or the Rylan? Because the Raylan is the cargo ship, right? The alien cargo ship? The Xi'an cargo ship? It still has its role. It's a cargo ship. It's got weird, funky alien boxes, but the Raylan is so new, it's not even out yet. Yeah. But the hexagonal boxes will work in Star Citizen. CIG wants to be able to attach anything to the cargo grids. Like, they want to be able to slap everything on a cargo grid. So those hexagonal boxes will still also work on other cargo grids. They're just not going to be efficient. Reliant Mako, maybe? The Mako is the broadcast one, right? Yeah. And I could still see being that they call it the streamer variant. But I could see it being more valuable, as it just requires a little nudge. I think if they modified it a little bit and gave it a drone instead of a camera, a deployable drone, like a camera drone, that would give you like crisp 4K, no HUD sort of like views. I think it would do well. I think it would be valuable for reconnaissance and for content creation and for like probably both of those. Screenshots. I can still also see it used as recon, because you could probably use the drone to like scan things and such. Coming at you live. I don't see them going out of their way to make second cargo grid for Xi'an ships. They'll just make the cargo ship, the cargo grid to like function with those boxes, or they'll change the boxes. Raylan will likely get a size up or something. It's weird. Not really. Not necessarily. I mean, the Raylan is fine. It's a cargo ship. It's like a whole series but alien. It's pretty much all it is. But it has better interiors. I know we have hex mining boxes now, but I don't think the Raelian's boxes are hex based because they're just like weird crumples. They're like different angles is what they're to kind of fit on the edge. I also personally don't think that the Mark things are going to matter that much. I think a lot of people are saying Mark IIs are going to be the future which isn't going to be the case. But just a cargo ship with triangular boxes. Let me look at the Raylan real quickly. All right, so I pulled up the sale page for the Raylan. They're just triangles. Like they're just triangles. It looks like they're boxes, but they have triangle shapes to them. That's it. Like this is clearly like a 2 SCU box, but it's in a triangular form. And if they wanted to get rid of that triangle stuff and make it like actual cargo boxes, they could just change some of the dimensions a little bit. That's it. Next weekend, Ricky. I don't know what it is yet. It might be my complete history, not my complete history, my the ships of the UE Navy, the final ships of the UE Navy one. $320 SCU. Yeah, but I mean, like, I don't know the size of these boxes are. Like, what comparable to SCU they would be. Triangles, yeah. They're supposed to open to fit standard boxes. Okay. Well, the CIG's not going to make a Mark II. Like, the reason why they had a Hornet Mark II was because of Squadron 42. And the confusion was everyone was like, oh, we have the Hornet Mark II and we have the Zeus Mark II. CIG is going to make Mark IIs, not knowing that the Zeus Mark II was named like that because in lore there was already a Zeus Mark I, but we've never been able to purchase it. So the idea that they're gonna be doing more marks just doesn't make any sense to me. They're just gonna update the ships, the stuff. And they won't be making Mark IIs because they would have to be making twice as many ships to have to update and make flyable to support. They won't retire anything in game that's Mark I as they said as much. Yeah, they can't really. If CIG changes from the QA and explains that they just couldn't make the triangles work, I hope the community would be more mature enough to accept that. They won't, but I also think that most people aren't buying the ship based off of the triangle boxes. They're buying the ship because of its unique aesthetic. Getting for the built-in back stretcher. Are the Connies getting a refresh, redesign? They will, all ships will undergo some sort of refresh as they get closer to 1.0. But like, there's only a handful of ships, in my opinion, which need a full interior redress, which is like the Reclaimer, the Aurora, the Freelancer, the Connie. That's really it. The Starlancer as well. Starfarer, not Starlancer. Starfarer. The Starfarer as well. And the Caterpillar. So that's the 6 ships that really need to get an interior rework. The problem is that 3 of those are super, super big. The Reclaimer, the Caterpillar, and the Starfarer are all massive ships. And the smaller ships, the Freelancer, the Aurora, and the Connie, are smaller, but like, sweet, love your little events. Thank you, Ricky. Yeah, so I've been saying this, but I'll say it again. My name is Paul Berserker01 Batman Shelley, your humble host and space bartender here at the AstroPub. Welcome to the Office Hours. This is my Yak Yak stream where we talk about Star Citizen lore, news, and more. Welcome. How you doing, Becky? What you up to? It goes good. I'm done with school. My work is done. I just have one more day of packing things up and getting boxes checked off to make sure everything's good, and then I get to leave. Question, do you know if any writers have ever given you tidbits that aren't full fleshed out ideas? Yeah, I've heard a couple things from the writers in the past, but nothing that's like fully solidified. Like, I know a lot about the Tavaran than most other people do, because I was able to talk to a couple of the writers about their ideas. These were ideas, not full-fledged promises, mind you, but the idea that like the Tavaran, for instance, when they wage war, they expect their opponent to submit when they lose. So if 2 Tavaran forces were fighting and one Tavaran defeats the other Tavaran army, then then the other nation of Tavaran that was being fought against will surrender entirely to the other Tavaran nation. But that conquering Tavaran nation has the responsibility of taking care of that nation as if it was their own. So in their culture, you're expected to take on anyone you've conquered as your own citizens, as your own people. And you who have been conquered are expected to adapt to life under that new system. So if you were a completely different style of Tavaran, maybe you're agricultural more than industrial, once you've been taken over by that industrial nation, you are expected to adapt to that industrial lifestyle and that culture. So you sort of adopt their beliefs and values, which is one of the core major tenets of modern Tavaran life, because half of the Tavaran in the universe hate the UEE and are actively trying to rebuild the Tavaran empire in their own, the Tavaran, not the Protectorate, Confederacy. I can't remember the name of what they are, but the Tavaran way of life outside of the UEE. And the other half, which are still living on their home world, are basically taking that idea to heart, where like, we've been conquered. We fought 2 wars and we lost. We have to adapt to humanity. But they want to use humanity's own systems to be able to ensure that they don't get fucked by humanity, which is the big move for the Tavaran. Is they're trying to, like, Suj Kosi, the senator from their homeworld, is trying to encourage more Tavaran to voluntarily sign up for the military so that they can get citizenship, so that if they can get every single Tavaran in the UEE to be a soldier and fight for the UEE and then get citizenship, they will have a much higher impact on the UEE as a whole, because if every single Tavaran was a citizen, they wouldn't outnumber normal citizens, but they would probably be like a third of the entire citizen population of the UAE, which would give them an amazing amount of political power. So then the other parties would have to pay attention to what their needs were. But it wouldn't be something like they were to go like, oh, well, we're going to do this so we can get power. It's like they're still putting their lives on the line. They're still doing things that they have to do, and they still have to perform exceptionally at their duties in order to get that citizenship. So it's a gambit, but it is sort of based in that Tavaran belief that once you've been conquered, you adopt the culture of the people who conquered you. They're like, that's what we do. That's part of our culture. Let's just abide by that culture and stop fighting, stop resisting it, and adapt to human culture. Become this human Tavaran cultural mix. That is entirely like the framework that they were working with in the lore team, but it wasn't something they confirmed yet. Raylan's definitely weird with the different cargo set. Those boxes hold regular SCU boxes. It doesn't seem like they have variant sizes in any images. Yeah. They seek to earn their place in the UAE. The idea is also, as far as I can tell, the Tavaran hate the Vanduul. Like it's a fiery fucking passion. They do not like the Vanduul. My guess would be that the Tavarans see the Vanduul as a twisted, like mirror version of their own culture, because their own culture is very martial and militaristic, and even like, what's the term? There's a term where like meritocracy. They're very meritocratic, similar to the Vanduul, but the Vanduul, even the Tavaran prefer surprise attacks, stealth. Strike and fade, that kind of thing. But the Tavaran never put an entire planet to the torch. They never glassed, antimatter bombed planets to death. They never laid waste to entire systems for the seeking of profit. Everything they did in terms of combat was done for a specific purpose, to achieve a goal, to win battles and win wars. They were military. They see the Vanduul as sort of like a ravenous horde of beasts, like the inverse of their own belief structures. Similar enough that they could be compared to them, but in terms of their actual actions, completely different. Do you think there's any chance we'll be able to create Tavaran or other aliens as playable characters? 100,000% yes. And I believe those playable alien races will be one of the few things you'll have to pay for in Star Citizen, beyond the base game. They said that the one thing they'd thought about, this is well long ago, that if they're going to do an expansion, paid expansion to Star Citizen, it would have to be something significant like alien races. So I believe if I was in CIG's shoes, based off of what they've done, they'll likely make the Tavaran the first species that you can play as, and it won't be a paid for addition. Because the Tavaran's homeworld is in the UAE, and the Tavaran mostly live in the UAE. So every single piece of kit that works for humanity has to also work for Tavaran. So every weapon and armor piece has to have some sort of adaptability to Tavaran body structures. Tavaran are more or less human-shaped. So it shouldn't be too difficult for them to create content and to be able to adapt content and other things for the Tavaran structure. It's mostly modeling a Tavaran and then getting the animation rigs and that kind of stuff. All of the stuff that you normally do with players and stuff like that. Which is still intense, but that's a post-release feature where they can focus on that. But then they'll probably, after they do that, it'll probably be the prelude for them dropping a Banu and Xi'an expansion, where you can play as a Banu or Xi'an, but then they also have their worlds that you have to start in as those species. But we're talking well past release. We're likely to have both of those. We actually do have a Banu already, but We're more likely to have those species in game as aliens you can interact with long before you can get to play with them. Can Devarin calibrate like a good, like good Taurians? Yeah. Okay. You'll never be able to play as the Vanduul. The other thing that's important to note is that the only way they're going to get those things done is if they can make variable characters. So once they're able to make characters fat or skinny or short or tall, that's going to be required for them to be able to create alien races, because the Xi'an are tiny as fuck. They're like 4 to 5 feet tall compared to humanity's average 6 foot, and the Banu or the Banu are like 7 foot tall. So like the Banu are as tall as or slightly shorter than the Vanduul. I'm going to have a Banu ult? Yes, of course. So in order to play as those different races, and while the Devarin are about the same size as humanity, they're probably going to be a little bit variable in sizes as well. A Banu historian. What a fucking oxymoron. So we're going to wrap this up here shortly. We've been streaming about 3 hours. I'll go for another 10 or 15 minutes. Like I said, today is a little weird. Greece in the BC. Kind of, yeah, kind of stuff. We were just clowning around in the PTU. I just saw that, Becky. Nice. How is the PTU, by the way, Becky? I haven't been able to play a lot of it. Imagine if a Banu discovered how much you care for their history. They'd have to build from accounts of foreign races. Some lags, but PTU has been holding up well for me. That's nice. Pay for not care. Imagine if a Banu discovered how much you'd pay for their history, but they would have to build it from accounts of foreign races. I don't think I've ever heard CIG saying that you would have multiple characters in a single account. They did say it at CitizenCon. They mentioned it a couple of times where that their plan is to have multiple characters in a single account. That was pretty big news at CitizenCon, where they were going to say you could do multiple character slots. The Devarn are the bird-like species. The Xian are the turtles, and the Banu are like stone or rock in appearance. I always like to think that the Banu are more like a coral, but yeah, they're kind of like talking trees. With shared inventory and rep, right? Why the fuck would I want to grind multiple times? I don't think it's going to be shared inventory and rep. I think it's going to be separate inventory and rep. Kind of like you have with any sort of different character slots. Old news too, the whole account build out was call sign at handle, where call sign was the character slot you're on and the handle was your account name. Those multiple character slots mean multiple character reputations? Yes, almost certainly. Sorry, I've been gone for a minute, but I finally made it home. Welcome home. My guess is there'll be a limited number of slots, though. Probably 3, based off of what I know from other MMOs. Typically, you only have a limited number when you have an account. So if you have multiple game packages on the same account, I can imagine each of those game packages counting as 3 different character slots. So you can get more character slots with the more game packages you have. Have a good day, Paul. Enjoy your afternoon. Thank you, Ronnie. Well, it's evening here. I'm going to go to bed here shortly. You also spoke about unifying multiple existing accounts. Yeah. Do you have a video that discussed all the new lore since Pyro launched? I'm so lost. Yes, I have, actually. It's called The History of the Stanton Pyro Lore. Oh, that's what I was going to do. Regen. Forgot that's the other one I'm going to do. That's what I'm going to work on.
And BH Fuel to redo their card a true owning Natnos Go DTI and Natnos Bryce. Reeler Dianche Aksho Crew Onarudai Letula Go DTI and Aid is Aid. O Radha Kana Aontacha, Bea Doraite, Go Siopadoret Gan Mahitsi, Ta Crusader Ag Blouch. Sibe and BH Fuel to Ag Ayaraidhan Lava Chetem Ag Skimil Lays Nam Yolta Morastoami, No Ag Legion Do Side Ag Spag and Teorin Green Circle. Ta Iting Ag Teached Go Lethui, Kada BH Fuel to Ag FA Nat.
Here we go. I'll post in here.
Cry havoc.
Yes.
Them biddies.
Ta, Tabir Kwe Horizon, and Chathir Snas Camel.
So next for CitizenCon, eh? Maybe not CitizenCon. I think it'll be out for by the end of the year, at least in preview. What was the first Mech Warrior game you played? Mech Warrior 4. Maybe a Mech Warrior 3. It's 39 minutes long. And it breaks down all of the conflicts between the different factions. When will the Regiant Crisis end? I'm sick for the space carrier NPCs crying about it everywhere if there's a medical facility. I would be very surprised if CIG doesn't do an EPTU / preview of Nyx by the end of the year. Now, in all fairness, we have not seen any updates specifically talking about content being worked on for Nyx as of yet. Doesn't mean it's not happening, but we haven't seen it yet. In order for me to be more confident about that prediction, I need to see more stuff being discussed in this summer. But it could also be intentionally held for CitizenCon, because that would be a great CitizenCon Direct, which is, hey, here's all the stuff we've been working on Nyx for. Oh, by the way, it's coming out before the end of the year. That's a great little drop to be like, boom, And, you know, they don't really need to talk about it because they've been focusing on content most of this year. Someone had mined the game files and saw the Levski geometries are in currently. I believe the Levski geometries have been in the patch files for a long time, but I could be wrong.
Dude, those old MechWarrior cinematics? I started with MW2. Bandits are hostile. Repeat, bandits are hostile.
Yes, Scoppy. I know you love MechWarrior too. Only as recently as 4.1. Okay. I demand a refund, says the NPC at Orison. CIG is just projecting faster record frustrations. Aimless, no joke. Half the fucking lore is just CIG like harnessing the backer rage. There's the entire history of the Carrack is basically done so that they could like legitimately create canon. It's canon that Carrack hype existed in the universe. The hype for the Carrack, the Carrackanine, that happened before the Carrack came out was literally canonicized in lore. I learned on my old Tandy Orange and black screen to play the original MechWarrior and F-15 Strike Eagle. Yeah, I played MechWarrior, I think it was 3, it might have been 4 on the Xbox, the original Xbox. Maybe MechWarrior 4? There was a MechWarrior game I played on Xbox.
Them biddies.
Mech Assault.
Patrastek Poxel J Tesaket Sovoja Kanek Depi Aval Sovojakan, Patrastek Varakangnal J Spasaliner Maroriaik Depi Aminabaja Barjinkna, Sant Katrok Teshranerik, Anahavatali Enetrinerik Minsaf Anzubakan Namna Kankam E Crusader, Ankats Narnik, Tedak Parzapi Skankanam Ek on Ankaknil Ampamak Potter Ki Katri Het, Te Hangstanal Green Circle Ayansaman Spasrahum, Makokne Ramen or Zamana Men, Inki Expasam. एक Isalak Horizon Kaga Camperi Mage.
Yeah, I'm looking at Mech Assault. Mech Assault 2. Yeah, it was Mech Assault 2 was my first one. Because I didn't play it on the PC. I played it on Xbox. Was it the one with the huge expensive bespoke controller? That was Steel Battalion. Battletech, the Crescent's Heart's inception was made by Westwood Studios. Neat. Yes, inner hype. I know what the translation was. So yeah, now I remember. Thank you for Woo, welcome from Master Manny Stream. My name is Paul Berserker01 Batman Show, your humble host and space bartender here at the AstroPub. Your space bar at the Welcome everyone to Chaos and Stream. My name is Paul Berserker01, Batman Shelley, your humble host and space bartender here at the AstroPub, your space bar at the end of the universe. I'm guessing you and Manny were hanging out together. What are you up to, y'all? Double rainbow all the way. What rainbow? Oh, Shift, are you seeing two of me in different colors? You shouldn't. If you see two of me of different colors, it means you've been sipping on a little bit too much of the space acid. So don't worry, you'll be fine. Just the only cure for it is to watch me for the rest of my stream, and then it should phase off by the end of there. So hitting the follow button helps as well. Spacid. We weren't hanging out. He was lurking, and Mia's going to raid him, but he was going to raid out, so we both raided the same. Okay, what were you up to? King Cast, we're doing PTU. Did you pick anything up during Invictus? I got an MTC, which I may or may not use as a giveaway, but I like the MTC, so we'll see. PTU stuff, it was fun. That's good. Did you get a chance to do any of the new stuff, or is it just the did you do like the ASD facilities and stuff? Check out the rain. We did new facilities. Lots of randoms were really cool and not so trigger happy tonight. That's good, because I've been hearing people complain about Idris's deciding to pop a squad on top of them. Have a good night, Manny. Yeah, we're kind of wrapping up here too. We'll be on for a couple more minutes. Mostly what we were talking about today was sort of looking at 4.2's like additions. We looked at the monthly report, not the monthly report, the patch notes for it, and then we're also talking about the how this is the best May funding they've ever had. Which is at almost 28 million. The best one before that was 25 million, which was last year. And they're coming up on their best month ever, which was November 2023, where they made 28,415,000. Right now they're at 27,617,000. So, yeah. They're doing really well financially. Like, they're on a pace to possibly break 120 mil. We'll see.
Are you ready to shift your perspective from the ordinary to the extraordinary? Ready to reset your expectations from the everyday to the highest heights?
I can't wait until CIG
From
removes the
breathtaking
sad.
views, incredible dining, to unmatched shopping, Crusader is calling. Whether you're just
So the
looking
English
to spend
speakers
the
don't
day
feel left
cloud
out.
hopping with the storm whales, or relaxing by Green Circle's infinite spa. Shuttles are arriving daily. What are you waiting for? Come, visit Horizon, the city in the clouds.
It would be huge. I mean, if they do it right, yeah. My belief, my anticipation is that CIG will roll out engineering and scanning and crafting before the end of the year. And at CitizenCon, they're going to announce Nyx and the next system. And that system is going to be at least in an EPTU, if not released, at the end of this year. So in December. So that way they can kind of go, hey, we're not a one-trick pony. We didn't just spend, 7 years building out only one system. It's not going to take us 7 years to build out another system. They'll release that fairly quickly. Oh, yeah, they're going to drop the Perseus either at CitizenCon or IAE. When they drop the Perseus and the Ironclad, they're going to break records. Both of those are coming out this year. At what time, I couldn't tell you. But they've been teasing the Perseus more. So. I'm sure that gets through, but I buy Super Chat and gets burned by the raid. Yeah, I saw that, Captain Ash. I'll read through it again. Sorry, Captain Ash. With mechanics now involving the changing of clothes, when will we get fucking working suit lockers? Probably before the end of the year. They've been pushing a lot of suit lockers recently, so I know suit lockers are a big deal for base building, so I imagine it's going to come around the same time as base building is. I could see 130, at least 120. Like, their current pace is insane. Like, they're at 60 million. They've never been at 60 million at this point. They're literally at the same range they would normally be for, like, July or August. 2 months, they're 2 months ahead of their funding tracker from any other year. So unless CIG really fucks up, and I mean like really fucks up hard in funding in the next couple of months, they're like their lowest months of earnings is always July and August. July is worse than August. Estimation when we lose the buybacks. Maybe never, but I almost, if they're going to lose the buybacks, it'll be 1.0. But I don't think they'll be able to lose the buybacks ever. I think the Apollo will come out as well, but we'll see. That one's a little bit trickier because they have to reconcept the bridge and the actual like medical bay. Yeah, the Perseus is going to be a favorite because it's like 5 people with some insane amount of firepower. It's just going to be very... I'm going to gamble and say 150. I could see 150. Like, if CIG announces a hard release date for Squadron 42 in like October or November and opens up pre-orders for it, like release for Squadron 42 in October, like in a hard release date for next year. We still haven't figured out the strange silhouette. No. Herald Mark II. They're not going to sell the S7X.
Them biddies.
Let's turn your TTS into Bitchin' Betty. Reactor, online. Sensors, online. Weapons, online. All systems, nominal.
Love that. Are there any game loops left which might require a new starter ship? All of them. I mean, combat and cargo we already have, and now we have mining. There's salvage, which is going to come out with the RSI salvage ship. We have a racing ship, but we don't really have a dedicated racing ship, but we do have racing variants. We have exploration variants. Bounty hunting? We don't have a starter bounty hunter. The closest is the profession starter, which is the Hawk or the Stalker. But we don't have like a $45 bounty hunting ship. Data running? Yeah, that too. Transport with passengers? Yeah, like a shuttle. They better not look at it as the Polaris med bay. I think the reason why they're reconcepting the medical bays for the Apollo has more to do with how they want future medical bays to look in like the galaxy. Because the Polaris medical bays are really there as more of a, utilitarian medical bay. But it's also clear from the TAC, which is more, naturalistic, and they've also got the NURSA, which looks much more like medical. They're going to try to find some sort of balance between them. Future-proofing the drones. They won't necessarily need the drones early on, but I can't imagine that drones aren't a thing that they won't be doing soon. Most anticipated creature, hands down, no contest, the whip crab. The whip crab is the only reason why the whip crab is my most anticipated feature is because the whip crab is basically tailor-made for big stompy mech combat. It's 20 feet tall. So like, let me look at meters, 5 meters maybe? 6 meters. So like around 6 meters tall. They're a hive mind controlled by a central queen, which means that they can number in the dozens or hundreds. So they're like kind of more of a wave enemy. They can disguise themselves as rocks, and they will just attack you pretty fiercely. But they're also moving. They're moving, unlike the Valakar, which sort of just comes out of the ground and goes wah, and then spits at you and hits you. This thing can scuttle around at you. What's a whip crab? Oh, yeah. The whip crab is the new name for the pyro crab. For those of you who don't know the whip crab, I'm bringing it up. Gotta find my copy of this one, but here we go. Whip crab. It's called the whip crab because these tentacle things are like whips. It can disguise itself as a rock, so it can like curl into a ball and disguise itself as a rock. And then this is the size comparison. So I did some basic generic measurements. A human being is about 6 foot tall, is the size of a human, and this is like 3 humans, so it's close to 20 feet tall. What do you think we'll harvest from it? Maybe some similar to the Valakar pearls, maybe the whips themselves, maybe the tentacles. It does have these sort of like little eyes on it, so these little like glow things on them. They aren't called whip crabs because they blare out Devo songs? No. Maybe the carapace too. You could probably maybe the carapace can turn into armor. Chitin. And this is why you need not 1 gun, but 2 whole gun. Contact your local Banu Suli today for weapon. May I introduce you to weapon? Banu have weapon for you. But yeah, so this is the size. This is like 20 feet tall. So you get a combat armor like, say, the ICT, but you also have the Zeus system, the Virgil LTD Zeus suit, that armor, which will come out in the near future as well, which would be perfect to fight these things because they live in caves. So like they live in caves, they'll come out to feed and they'll attack local settlements. So you'll have to like defend against their attack and then trace them back to their lair and kill the queen because they're hive mind. So you've got defense, tracking, attack, and boss battle. Is the bandit defender really worth all the whip crabs you must slay for the head part? Yes. And now that they've no longer made creatures be unique one-offs for their locations, but sort of everywhere, which works in terms of like making the video game, but also kind of works in terms of story because seed animals and such.
Them biddies.
Yes, you'll have to get a bunch of Zeus suits together. It'll be a Zeus suit ride.
Yes.
Right.
Throw back a bottle of tears. Settlement is in danger, yeah. What are a good friend, the Boreal Stalker, you can get from that creature? Probably its fur. I can see its fur being used for lining for like spacesuits or for like insulation for like environmental suits and such. Yeah, teeth and claws too. I would say by the time Star Citizen reaches 1.0, we'll probably have like 20 so creatures and variations on those creatures. So like we'll have the Storm Wall, which is I think the only unique creature we'll see. Then we'll have the Copian, Grazer, Whip Crab. We'll have the Ranta, Stonebug, Stalker, Valakar, and then, we'll probably have some sort of sheep or deer or goat sort of equivalent. We might just have a goat, We'll probably have some form of flying creature, because we also have the Marok, but we might have some other flying creatures, fish, or like squids. Like we don't have a lot of sea creatures. And then we also know there'll be different versions of each of the species. Like we already have with 4.2, we're going to have radioactive versions of the Valakar. So we'll have, mutated versions and different unique biome versions of each, like we have with the Copian and the Grazer. Can you mate with them? Probably not. Rancho would be nice. Huh.
Them biddies.
Try a new arboreal stalker suit, made with real arboreal stalker fur. We are legally required to warn buyers from wearing it during mating season.
We also have the Ranta. All right, so CIG are absolutely sadistic because they're heavily inspired by horror genre. Star Citizen has a secret horror element to it, even though it's not really there because a lot of it's goofy right now. Serious, goofy mix sort of thing. But I 100% believe that the Ranta is going to be based more on isopods from the sea than isopods on land. And anybody who knows what sea isopods do knows how fucking sick and twisted they are. Like, there's a type of isopod that lives in the sea which will eat a fish's tongue and then replace the tongue with its own body and eat the food that the fish tries to eat. Sid? Or no, who's the collector? I guess I do, because of the glasses. I think it's a similar style. So, it's just my thought that what likely a Ranta does is it will probably burrow into dead bodies in caves. Like human, Copian, whatever, and bury its eggs inside that body. So that when the babies give birth, they burst out of the body. That's the pill bug escape. Pill are the stone bugs. Stone bugs are different from Rantas. Rantas are seen as sort of like rats in the Star Citizen universe. They sort of have that sort of like vibe to them. Some people think they're cute. Some people call them, Ranta. Ranta's like like a insult, you'll say. Like, come on, you Ranta piece of shit. Pieces of Ranta shit, that kind of stuff. Chest bursters, but if chest bursters were machine gunned. In a chest burster, you have one chest burster. This is more like a big pop, and hundreds of them escape. The box turtle we have in game, which it doesn't have animations yet or actions. That's everywhere. Now, I don't think CIG is going to actually animate like chest bursting open and like Rantas flying out, but it'll likely be a situation where you'll go in to retrieve a body for a mission of some kind, maybe for or go into a cave to see something. You see like a dead Copian, and as you get closer, like Rantas just crawl out of the body and crawl towards you to try to eat you. Yeah, like the crabs would be tripping over each other like the moon crew from Apollo 18. Yeah. Ooh. A lot of human or Earth-based creatures don't survive in the extreme temperatures of planets like Microtech and such. But creatures like the grazer are super easy to modify, and they already live in extreme conditions as it is. So the grazer basically replaced the cow when it comes to food. But because it also has eggs, it's also replaced the chicken. So the only creatures that they would introduce into seed a world that doesn't have life on it would be creatures that they can control or manage, and they can have some use out of it. Because the control or manage is mostly the predators, so that they can call the prey animals and stuff like that. Body retrieval mission, Branta birth pops on your ship, classic sci-fi trope. If you don't scan it properly and decontaminate it, yeah. And Rantas apparently can live in like the vacuum of space. Because they live in caves where there is no oxygen. So there may be void species where they can like live in like vacuum. Unfortunately, we won't find Karathi because the Karathi are owned by EA. The cosmic grazer is a terraforming animal used on planets as much for their fertilizer potential as they are for meat and eggs. Yeah, but they also work as just a creature, like a prey creature, and a creature that can go consume local flora to manage forests and stuff like that. All right, y'all. It's past my bedtime. But I did almost 4 hours, so it's not bad. Are there jump tunnel species? Not that we know of. But I'm sure CIG will come up with interesting, unique creatures that fit a different variety of stuff. Because they already kind of have the dog, wolf, predator type with the Copian. So I can't imagine them doing that. They might have a bigger predator, but they also have the whip crab, and they have the boreal stalker, which are bigger predators. I'd like to see more mammal-based, creatures. Maybe some like titanic creatures, huge creatures. Those would be fun. There's also mention of jellyfish, which live in the upper atmosphere of Crusader. But have I played all of the Cross Roberts games? Not all of them, but I played a lot of them. All right, y'all. I'm going to bed. Thank you for hanging out with us. I will be back tomorrow earlier than usual because I'm going to be playing 4.2 with Loken. So we'll do our pub and plays Fridays. Saturday, we're going to be doing a video. We're going to be doing a captain's table. I got to see if I can get some more people. We're going to talk about where are all the aliens. We're going to discuss like Alien Week and talk about alien ships and where the alien ships are, why we don't have more of them, when can we expect them, all those sorts of things. And then on Sunday, we'll do a lore expedition. I'll have to check with the league officers and stuff like that if I still want to do it. And then Monday, I'm going to be doing my 0 to hero, but it'll be much earlier than usual. And if it's not 0 to hero, then it'll be my like a Astro Historian stream. That's what it'll be. It'll be an Astro Historian stream. I have to change that on the schedule. But it'll be a little bit earlier than we normally do it because I'll be off for the summer by then. Expect not this weekend, but next weekend, the next lore video, which will cover the Regen Crisis. This weekend, I might have my video on the Drake Cutter released. So I've been doing a review video on the Astro Historian or the AstroPub, AstroPub Live YouTube, where I'm covering every single ship in Star Citizen, doing a kind of review of all of the ships. So I'm going to do the entirety of the Cutter series. I've already got all the footage for it. I've just got to finish writing it and recording it, and then I just put it together. And then I will be doing one after that, I'll be doing it on the 100 series, and then on the golem, probably. If I can see if I can get one. But yeah. Thank you for following us. Thank you for watching. And like I say every time, hope to see you someday in the black.